raining motherfuckers.
No reported income for the last 5 years, and the only claim to fame you got, as far as I could find, was finishing second place in the International Rope Skipping Championship in Boulder, Colorado in 1984. Quite an accomplishment. What was your speciality? Double Dutch?
Fuck this guy.
T, I can handle this, dog.
You darn nuts looking bitch.
Shit,
What the
man.
fuck? I know you didn't
Christ,
just
man.
step to me,
What the
dog.
hell are you doing,
That
man?
skipping shit cut me deep, dog.
Suck on this, Blondie!
Fuck my eyes, man.
Get him out of here.
High panted bitch.
I am gonna be watching you.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna prove you wrong, big guy. Because I can play this game a lot better than you.
Really?
Yeah, really. You got something to say?
No, it's just admiring your pants, officer.
Right.
No one's watching, to kind of get back some of that lost revenue that's existed because of digital. So that's an interesting angle to take. But I think people are like you, where you're kind of almost doing it not because you really need to have it on vinyl, but because you want to support something that you like.
Unfortunately, I think it's a small percentage of people that do that. Most people, if they can get it for free, they get it for free because most
Sure.
people are constantly worried about their bills.
Sure.
You know, and if you can get something for free and download it and no one's watching, I mean, that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Artists making more of vinyl sales
This
than
is
streaming services.
This is the article I
Well,
read.
streaming services are the worst.
But are they?
They are, and here's why. They're owned by the record companies, and they've circumvented the whole selling album system.
Right, but isn't it the demand from the customer that is always going to drive the marketplace? If people want streaming services, sorry to break it to you, that's the reality we have to live in.
Of course they want free money too. If you could just hand out free money, that'd be great as well.
No, but I mean in this particular case with music, right? Doesn't music work better when you can just launch any song
Here's the
that
problem.
exists on the planet?
These streaming services are profitable, and they're making a lot of money.
Right.
Now, if the streaming services are making a lot of money, the artists aren't making any money.
An artist doesn't need to be on Spotify. There are plenty of examples of people who pulled their stuff off Spotify. Taylor Swift.
Me.
Oh,
My podcast won't. I won't put my
there you
podcast
go.
on.
Well, that's easy.
Yeah, well, it's because the amount of money that they pay you is fucking ridiculously low.
Right.
It's insane. Taylor Swift pulled her shit off Spotify. When you get a big artist like Taylor Swift pulling their shit off Spotify,
I don't know how much she made off Spotify. The figure is maybe
they're
a
disgusting.
couple million or something. But
No, she didn't make a couple million.
I don't know,
bucks.
maybe
No
500,000.
way.
Maybe 500,000.
No. It was so low. It was insane.
I think it's somewhere in there.
I think it's way
that's
less
for the
than
biggest.
that.
That's for like the biggest artist that exists on the platform.
Well, there was like we went over this before, where we looked at the one song that got played the most on Spotify,
Okay.
and how much that artist got for it, and it was like $2,000.
Yeah, it's a fraction of a penny per play. But see, my feeling though is the Spotify audience, are they a crossover of the iTunes audience, or are they a crossover of the pirating audience?
I think they're a radio audience because it's like instead of
It
tuning into a
does seem
local
like
radio
but
station.
I guess what I'm saying is, in the absence of Spotify, do those millions and millions of users, do they turn to iTunes and give you the 99 cents, or do they give you nothing? Because if they're giving you nothing and stealing it, right, then isn't Spotify better than that alternative? Because at least you're
if
getting...
it's the pirating audience. Yeah.
Exactly, and this is the fear that this is the thing that the music business doesn't seem to want to address, is that when Napster hit, everybody was a pirate. I don't care who you are.
Right.
I walk around and talk to people.
I was a pirate.
It was so superior to any other method for discovering music that even if you didn't want to steal things, it's like, fuck, this is too good.
Right. But the problem is, this is not pirating, because pirating, nobody benefited from. Everybody got free stuff, but no one profited. What this is
Well,
record
I
companies
might
supporting these streaming
services. I might
services.
disagree with that. Again, this is not a direct...
But hold on, let me finish my sentence.
Go ahead.
Record companies created a platform, a financially profitable platform to stream from. That's a big difference between that and pirating. Because pirating doesn't have any central location. They're just floating around. The only central location was Napster, right? So Napster got taken down because of that. But Napster wasn't really profitable. Like these Spotifys, they've figured out a way to sort of circumvent this whole downloading situation. make things streaming. They stream everything.
There are alternatives to Spotify, like Jay-Z's service, Tidal.
Yeah, and they're equally criticized.
Yeah, except that one is owned by artists, not record labels, and they have similar issues in trying to pay actual artists. Because at the end of the day, if they raise the price of their service, if Spotify goes from $10 to $20, people aren't going to have it.
Well, what are the percentage of people that use Spotify that actually pay? I bet it's way less. I bet most people get the free Spotify. Like the vast majority. Let's see. I'm sure the data's out there.
It's a good question, but
because I don't think people are paying for it.
I guess what I'm trying to get back to is just this idea that music just simply isn't as valuable as it was, and I think that it's tough as an artist. Again, like I can sense, I feel the pressure of artists right now.
Well, it's the way you're saying it.
Yeah, I know.
It's
but
I know it's problematic in the way you
economically. I'm not saying the value, the inherent value in expression. Like
maybe a better way to say it is the market is completely changed and dissolved.
There you go.
And it's not that the work is less valuable. It's arguably more valuable in troubling times.
Yeah.
And these are certainly troubling times, and music is a massive source of inspiration and mood and enhancement to people.
And that's why I also curbed it by saying, like, it's more important. It's arguably more important emotionally and all the rest of it. But I'm just specifically talking about that. I think artists need to recognize that, and then they can whatever system comes forth for how to deliver the future of how we listen to music. At least they're involved in that process instead of just being like participating in the current one. Like it's like you need to be on Spotify for a number of different reasons as an emerging artist, because that's the way people are discovering music. So there's a lot of pressure there to participate, even in the even though you're not getting rewarded for it.
As an emerging artist, but as an artist that already is doing well and established making money, and you realize that Spotify needs people like you in order to legitimize its company, then it becomes an issue, right? Well, our subscriber growth in the last 6 months of 2000, what does that mean? Okay, just 10 million paid subscribers. Apple Music, 10 million. According to Stats Now, Spotify just crossed 100 million total users. Paying number could be more than 30 million. Why don't they tell you that? But what does that mean, though? That's not a real number. They're saying could be more. Whenever someone says could be more, could be 3 people. Could be more than 30 million, but it could be like 5 dudes. Spotify announced its 20 millionth paying subscriber. Okay, back in June of 2015, Spotify announced its 20 millionth paying subscriber with an ad-based free user base of 55 million. Okay, that's pretty decent. 75 million total and 20 million paying subscribers. Huh. See, the problem is too, they like if you have a podcast on it, they can get rid of your ads, they can put their own shit on it. They can do whatever they want.
Listen, I'm not making an argument for Spotify. I'm just like it piqued my interest in a number of times that it's being discussed. It's like, I think, big artists, they can take a stand. Taylor Swift can take a stand. She doesn't need the $500,000.
But if you look at those numbers, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like you're talking about 75 million people. So 50, whatever they are, 50 million, they're using ad revenue. And then the other 25 million they're actually paying for the service.
$10. Yeah.
That's an insane amount of money.
Yep.
75 million people paying $10 a month.
But you can see,
or 25 million people paying $10 a month, and then the other 50 just getting their ad revenue from. That's a lot of fucking people.
Yeah, but you can see the breakdown. It's not like hand over fist that they're making money. Like,
right, but it's still the record companies. Like the record companies are the ones that are in charge of this. Like they're massive contributors to these companies.
Yeah, of course.
So they figured out a new way to not pay artists and to stay open, stay valid.
Artists appear to be people that get taken advantage of, have been for the last 50 years.
The Jay-Z thing is a great thing. Like to have artists doing it.
But he was charging more, and that's why their user base, they're in trouble. Apparently they're in trouble because they couldn't build a substantial user base at the cost they wanted to get.
How much is he charging?
Well, what is it? It was like $20.
Yeah, but it's higher quality you're getting too.
Yeah.
So you're
higher quality audio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lossless audio.
Higher quality audio. 20. But
people don't care about that. That's the issue.
They really don't.
Rather pay for free. They just get the 320 kilobyte. Can't hear the difference. It's really hard to.
Well, I had an amp once that I attached to my iPod. I had an iPod and then an iPod amp. I set it up once, never used it again. It was bullshit. Like, it's barely better.
Convenience. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Convenience in many ways trumps quality. It trumps your
Well, that's the beauty of iTunes.
Yeah.
And then Apple's music streaming service.
Well, see, but in the case of iTunes, you can make the argument like Apple's then involved in the promotion of your business, right? Because they're getting a huge chunk.
Yeah, they're the biggest distribution of all music right now. If you want to break it down that way,
Yeah.
no CDs are being sold at like Best Buy unless you can really search really hard and find one Best Buy has.
Yeah, who the fuck has CDs anymore? I threw a CD. I had a white striped CD in my office. I was cleaning out my office and it was sitting on my desk. I'm like, I'm just gonna throw this out. I have it on my phone. Why would I want a stupid copy of it that I'm not gonna plug in anywhere?
Here's the thought on that, though. I've been having a lot recently because I've seen some things happen. If all of the music you like, let's say, pick your 10 favorite albums of all time, you don't have them a physical copy of, but you have you have them saved on your Apple, your iMusic, whatever it is, whatever service you pick. If it's all in the cloud, they can technically go change that music whenever they choose to.
Change it.
Yeah, Kanye West has been doing something really recently right now, where he put out an album on Tidal last month, and for about a month they were kind of tweaking it. They were changing the mastering on it. They were changing the featured artists on it, even on one song.
Oh, so while it was up, he was tweaking it.
He's gone back on another album that's already been out for a long time now and changed some of the mastering on 2 of those songs. And some people think he might be doing more. No one knows. But it's a thought that I've been having that one of my favorite albums, I went to go back and find. The track order is out of order now. Some of the songs are missing. It's because that artist has decided not to have the version of that album up on Spotify the way it originally was. So if you wanted to have that album, you need to own it the way he put it out in 2011, or you never have that actual album. You have whatever they have existing in the cloud, and that's
This
what
is
you
some
get to
deep
have in the
shit.
future.
That's fascinating.
That's some deep shit.
See, I support someone being able to do that because that's kind of interesting. Like what he's doing by changing the mastering and adding new tracks and fucking around with things, it actually is compelling. Like it makes you want to kind of tune into it, and it's very intelligent on his part. I think he does, like, as dumb as that dude is,
Yeah.
and as egocentric as that dude is, he's so ridiculous, but he makes some really good moves. Like when he goes on this massive rant about Bill Cosby being innocent right before he releases his shit. I mean, it's the classic troll move.
Yeah, it's a little too much for me most of the time, but
He's so entwined in the world of hate, though. He has so much hate coming at him. It almost makes sense to cultivate that hate and use it, like judo it, in the right direction.
He knows what he's doing
Yes.
for sure.
100%.
He knows what's going to
100%.
happen when he tweets something.
Yeah. I mean, look, you really think he thinks Bill Cosby's innocent? Get the fuck out of here. Nobody thinks Bill Cosby's innocent. Even Bill Cosby sitting around with his one fucking good eye going, maybe I did rape those girls. Even he is like coming to terms with the fact that he might be a piece of shit.
Enemy ball. Ball drop. Enemy ball. Enemy scored. Match tied.
Is that free Kekistan? Oh no.
Oh yeah. I meant to wear it at the panel yesterday, but I actually I was late.
Yeah, what we're talking about here, folks, is he has a free Kekistan shirt, and I just learned about this very recently from Jordan Peterson.
Oh yeah, he loves it.
I had no idea. I didn't know what the deal with the frog was.
Yeah.
And do you know that you can't have the frog now? What is it on iTunes?
yeah.
Apple iTunes won't let
Yeah.
you use the frog.
It's great.
What the fuck, people? What is Apple
frog.
doing? It's a frog. It's a cartoon frog.
You see, Hillary Clinton denounced it, so
She denounced the
she's
frog.
oh yeah.
She said something about horribles. What did she say about the frog?
Oh, it was part of an article on the website.
Oh,
how they were saying how this cartoon frog hates it. So you
Wow.
I mean, come on, let's be
It's a
honest. This is the best bit about the internet. We can make them look ridiculous.
Well, they look ridiculous on their own. They. It's just, we're saying they,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
We're already like doing the bad thing, lumping people into these groups.
Yeah,
But it is a weird thing that they don't understand. Like whoever gets upset at this does not understand how preposterous it is to freak out about a frog. And who the fuck is over at Apple? First of all, what about the poor bastard that made Peppy the Frog for totally non-Kekistan,
non-internet reasons.
non-red pill reasons?
Yeah.
This poor bastard just had this cartoon frog that he made. Feels bad, man. You know? And then all of a sudden, that poor guy has to say, I'm killing off Pepe. And then the internet's like, bitch, you're not killing off shit.
Nobody knows who you are, but everyone knows who Pepe is.
You can't kill off something like that. That's so crazy.
Yeah, it's silly to think that he could achieve it, isn't it?
Oh, well, everybody's so... Well, it's almost like they have to denounce it.
Yeah.
You know, otherwise they'll get lumped into the supporter. Like, he probably does think that people think he's a supporter.
Maybe.
Right?
Well, I don't think they do. I think he's like, you know, I don't know what's going on, so I want to stay out of it. I haven't really looked into that.
It is weird, man, because, like, you know, people think they're being shadow banned. Like, Scott Adams had a big post the other day where he said he's being shadow banned. Yeah, but he said he talked to Jack at Twitter, and Jack said there's no shadow ban. I talked to Jack, too.
Shut up, Jack. We know there's shadow ban.
This is Sargon speaking,
Jack's
not
full of
me.
shit. Right, Jack, we know
You think
Jack's
full of shit?
Oh, absolutely. Why the fuck
Seems
haven't
like
I
a
been
nice
verified,
guy.
Jack? Tell me, Jack. Why haven't I been verified? What's your excuse?
He's probably super busy with the 400 billion people that are on Twitter.
Probably super full of shit. That's what
So
it
have you
is.
tried to get
Oh, yeah,
verified?
3 times, and every time they're just denied. Why? I mean, what is it? Don't have enough followers?
How many followers do you have?
200,000. There are a
seems
bunch
like
of
a lot.
parody accounts about me. My fans need to know who I am on Twitter. Don't you think that's the reason for verification, Jack?
Isn't that interesting? Because if you were on a television show, it would be expected that you would be verified by now. With that kind of following, that's a giant following. And you're YouTube.
630,000 on YouTube?
Yeah, that's a lot of people.
Seems worth verifying me for.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's a badge of status, which is why they de-verified Milo. There was I mean, that's the most
That was
ridiculous
the
thing in
weirdest
the world.
one. De-verifying
You
someone.
can't do that. That
You
proves
can't.
it's a
How do
ba-
you verify someone and then
Oh,
de-verify?
it's not Milo anymore, is it, Jack?
You know
you're a
that's
liar.
the guy.
Yeah, you're a fucking liar. You know it's a badge of status. You know you're doing it to create some sort of privileged class on Twitter. I mean, they even get like a different function, don't they?
Yeah.
Where you can only see from other verified. Every account on Twitter should be verified.
Yeah, that
Every
is a
single
thing
one.
you do, right? You're allowed to only see accounts that are verified.
Yeah, it's a privilege. And he took it away from Milo to punish him for being a dissident. And he won't verify me to punish me for being a dissident. And he knows it.
This is a strange. You're fucking balls deep in this, dude. I feel it. You're like very emotionally invested.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. That's because I've never had to play the game. I'm where I am now, entirely on my own merit. I've never had any international connections. I've never been to America before. I've never spoken to any of these people. They all knew who I am, and they're all afraid of me. Because
Why do you think they're afraid of you, though?
Because if I can do it, anyone can do it.
But why do you think it's fear? Why do you think
Because
they're
we
afraid,
don't need
though?
them.
Well, you definitely don't need them. No one needs
And
anybody
since-
anymore.
Exactly.
But that's a good thing.
But you can't create a system of privilege without interdependent connections. There is no system of privilege if you don't have to rely on other people to maintain a privileged class. If you don't have to maintain a privileged class and you don't have to rely on other people, then
So
their
let's-
status goes away.
Let's break this down for people who don't know what the fuck we're talking about. Okay. You're may I call you Carl? That's your actual name, right? Is that
Are
cool?
you dead naming me? Are you doxing me?
I am
Jack?
doxing you.
Oh my God,
But
Jack.
you've already been doxed. We were discussing this.
Yeah.
Now,
Yes,
your YouTube account, you have great videos.
Thank you.
Really great commentary.
Thanks.
Very smart guy.
Thank you.
And how did you get involved? I mean, are you like, what is this? Are you an alt-right guy?
No.
You're not, right?
Yeah, the alt-right is an identitarian movement for white people. They're heavily nationalist, protectionist, anti-interventionist. They're not like laissez-faire free market capitalists. I'm a liberal. I'm like an English liberal, as in I want universal rights, laissez-faire capitalism. I don't mind. I mean, socialized healthcare and a welfare state I'm happy with, as long as it's universal, as long as it doesn't just apply to some, as long as anyone could access it if they needed to. Just universal rights for all. I can't see a reason to discriminate against someone when it comes to dealing with rights.
Well, who's like defining alt-right? Is it been clearly defined?
No.
Because it's so
Well,
new.
It's actually relatively well defined now because the alt-right have asserted themselves. They said, look, no, we're for white people. You know, we're pro-white
But
people.
who's saying that? Which guys?
someone like Ramsey Paul or
But as
like
soon as-
Richard Spencer.
But as soon as someone like that says they're alt-right, then everybody else just assumes that they like allows them to define it. Because I think there's probably a
It's
lot
their
of people who
movement.
consider themselves alt-right, where they were right-wing, but they weren't racist, they weren't a
Yeah,
white
yeah.
supremacist. They just didn't like this old man right that was there before.
I think they call themselves the alt-light. I don't know whether that's
Alt-light?
I don't know whether that's a term of disparagement or not, Or the new right or something like that. But the thing is, I don't run in these circles, so I actually don't really know very much about those guys, like the Paul Joseph Watsons and Senoviches.
Right.
I don't find them particularly offensive. I just find them to be like a modern form of conservatism.
I think Paul Joseph
is
Watson is a very reasonable guy.
Yeah.
He's very articulate. He seems pretty smart.
He does the opposite of what the media does, but that's not a criticism.
But he makes good points.
Yeah, exactly.
About a lot of things.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's necessary for him to exist. You know, he's like, you know, because they both create narratives, and it's not that these narratives aren't true. It's just that sometimes these narratives leave things out, but not always. This isn't like a condemnation of either side by saying this. This is just what they do. And that's okay. You know, everyone's entitled to create their own sort of... And I'm going to use the word propaganda, but again, I'm not using it in a derogatory sense.
Right.
I mean, you're like, look, I want to make this point. I don't want to make your point, you know, because you're making your point. I'm going to make my point. And these 2 points will both stand in existence and will both be true at the same time. And so it's okay for Paul Joseph Watson to exist. You know, it's fine. I don't have a problem with him. I don't really have any criticisms of him, to be honest. Otherwise, you know, other than, you know, I mean, I wouldn't do what he's doing, but...
What is he doing that you wouldn't do?
He goes a bit harder than I would. And I don't think he is as objective as I would prefer as a news source. I prefer someone more like Philly D.
Isn't that an interesting thing? The objectivity is a real problem when it comes to left versus right or any of these groups. You get lumped into these categories and then you start defending your turf.
Yeah.
And that seems to be a huge issue today.
Yeah.
That everybody just sort of digs their heels in the sand and decides this is who I am, and those other people, and you start using they and them, which is why I try to avoid that.
The bad guys.
Yeah. They what they want, what the left wants. And
it's really tough actually, because I've actually done like channel. I've actually polled my subscribers and stuff. I've got like it was like a year ago, but my content hasn't really changed tenor. I got like tens of thousands of responses, so it's a really good sample size. And most of my subscribers are centre-left liberals who are just lost. You know, they're not identitarians. They don't want to sit there and go, you know, I mean, I was at VidCon and they had so many panels where they're like, let me talk about me being a Latinx. Let me talk about me being a Latine. And it's like...
A Latinx?
A Latinx, yeah. A non-binary Latina.
Oh, come on.
No, I'm not joking. I'm not making this up, and I'm not joking. I wouldn't make anything up, and I won't lie to you, right? I'm absolutely serious. But the thing is, what really annoys me about identity politics, when they're like, let me tell you about my identity, it's like, look, dude, that's none of my fucking business. I don't care about your fucking identity. Do not tell me how you identify. It's not my problem. It's not my business. It's not political. And if you want to make it political, I'm just going to tell you to shut up and fuck off. Because I don't care. Hey, Joe, let me tell you about my white... yeah, of course it is. Let me tell you about my white identity.
Look at this.
Yeah, see,
Latino A versus Latin X versus Latin E. Which word best solves Spanish gender problem?
Really addressing the hard-hitting issues here.
Jesus, Rachel Richard Reichard. What did I say your name?
Reichard, yeah.
Yeah, what word best solves Spanish's gender... What gender problem?
Exactly. They've made up all this crap, and all it is talking about themselves. They're not talking about real problems.
Is this what happens when you have too many vaccines?
I think it's what happens when you have too much money.
Yeah, people are just it's too easy to get by.
This is a symptom of affluenza. They're thinking, hey, people give a shit what I think of my own genitals. Not really. Get out.
Yeah, unless you're sticking them in my face, I really don't give a fuck.
Yeah, exactly. But then that's an interpersonal thing. That's not like a political problem.
No, it's not a political problem. Well, I mean, the politics of human interaction, I guess.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of that.
The thing that annoys me most is when they say, let me tell you about my blackness. I'm like, what the hell do you mean by your blackness? And they're like, well, me as a black person. It's like, you're gonna start stereotyping yourself, aren't you? You're going to give me a stereotype of black people, and then you're going to say this is somehow representative not only you but other people. But then you're validating Richard Spencer when he says, "Hey, can I talk to you about my whiteness?" What's your argument to say no?
You're not allowed to do that.
Exactly. But why not?
What's wonderful?
Why not? You're talking to me about your blackness. I'll talk about my whiteness, and all of a sudden we're going to both realize, we're just talking about ourselves. We're just talking about ourselves. Why don't we talk about something real?
Did you see that woman, the Delaware professor, who was talking about that kid that got killed in North Korea, the kid who stole the propaganda poster.
I know about the kid. I haven't seen the professor talking about it.
Oh, man. Well, she just got fired today.
Oh, really?
Luckily, yeah. Which is nice. It's a good sign.
Enemy is
But what
still
she had
in the
said is
lead.
essentially he had it coming, and that she's tired of rich,
Victim blaming.
clueless white people who come to her class, and then she just goes on this series of straw men who do coke and have no problem raping a girl at a frat party.
Whoa.
Like, whoa. Yeah, like
Dude.
where'd that come from? This guy just got beaten to death in Korea.
Yeah,
and
coming. He shouldn't have raped girls at frat.
he didn't rape anybody.
Of course he didn't.
There's no
yeah.
evidence he did coke. Like, this fucking bitch.
Jeez,
And
no wonder she got fired. Good.
Well, she's apparently, she's racist. She's
Well,
racist
yeah,
towards
yeah,
white
totally.
people. I mean, you can be that, and that's that's one of the wonderful
yeah.
things about the social
Enemy is
justice
still
warrior
in the
movement
lead.
is that they've made it so it's impossible to be racist towards white people.
They
This is-
believe it, yeah.
This is a
They
real
believe
belief.
it, yeah. Oh, yeah.
That
Yeah.
if you are a white person, you're a person of privilege, and
Yeah.
racism is something that a person of privilege does to a person in a compromised group.
Yeah.
So
do you know what's
can't.
really funny about it is they by saying it's power plus prejudice, they say right, it's institutional. It's like, okay, but that means you're taking away the word for interpersonal racism. So if like an Asian guy goes up to a black guy and says, "Hey, N-word," that can't be racism because he doesn't have institutional power, and there is no word for racism between individuals now. You've redefined it to be institutional. So what is the word for interpersonal?
Yeah, it's like that old Chris Rock bit about for every black dude thinks he's tough, there's a Native American waiting to kick his ass. A more marginalized group. It's just, it is one of those things where it's like people are seeking problems. And they're also seeking to clearly identify themselves as being from a more compromised group.
Politics of victimhood.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm the victim here.
Yeah.
Give me some special treatment. It's like, dude, I don't want to be a victim.
How do you feel about transracialism?
I think there's no logical argument
Do you
against
think you
it.
can identify as an Eskimo?
As far as they're concerned, you can. There was a big hoo-ha in academia recently because someone published a paper, I can't remember the name of the person, published a paper saying, well, look, what's the argument against this? If you can identify as another gender, why can't you identify as another race? Same logic, just apply to a different
Not
sphere.
necessarily, because the argument of you identifying with another gender could be based on some sort of hormonal issue or some neurotransmitter misfire. There could be something that could be physically.
There could be, if any
Yeah.
of their arguments were hinging on the idea that mattered.
two,
But it's not.
one.
They say, well, you can identify as anything you want because it's all a social construct, so you can do whatever you want with it.
Yeah, that's where it gets slippery, right?
Yeah.
Where it gets really slippery is that sex and gender are social constructs. It's like, well, clearly that's not true.
Oh, no, actually it is true. They are social constructs. But the thing is, they're not
Sex
just...
isn't. It's not a social
Well, no,
construct. to be male or female.
biological sex is based on chromosomes,
Right.
but your gender is a group of constructed behaviours around that. But it's constructed for a good reason. Men have got clearly got a superior natural advantage in things like strength and speed over women, and women need protection when they are, say, pregnant. When they're looking after kids, they need society to look after them because they have something that needs protecting.
Right.
And so we've got a whole, and each society, the reason you can tell that these are actually social constructs is because every society is different. I mean, in Saudi Arabia, the men walk in front, the women walk behind, and they keep their heads down and then shut the fuck up. That's a social construct. That's a gender role.
Right, but that's a cultural role.
Yeah,
that's
of course, but it's still a gender role, and that's my point. For us, we don't do that.
But it's
we've
not
just got-
necessarily. I mean, it's not like a social construct, meaning
Three,
that this is something that occurs
one.
all the time, even in primates. I mean, there's a lot of behavior that males exhibit in nature.
Oh, I'm not saying there's no relation to biology.
But what are you
That's the thing.
saying? Then how's it a social construct?
Well, it's a behaviour that we have.
Right.
It's not like something that's consistent. Like, all men pee through their dicks is not a social construct.
Right.
Every man on earth does this. But not every woman on earth has to walk behind her man silently 10 paces back because she's female, right? In the West, it's actually, the other way. The man opens the door, the woman goes through. There's a gender role, but it's not the same. So
Right.
it can be changed. It is a social construct, but that doesn't mean that there isn't a gender role. There is always a gender role. It's always informed by biology because men and women are fundamentally different, and they always will be.
Well, that's where people get slippery with you,
Yeah.
right? That's where they
And
want to argue.
they like it that way. They like it that way.
What is that? Who's the one feminist? There's one really nutty young lady who was saying that even physical strength is just because men are encouraged to do physical
Are
things.
you referring to one any Sarkeesian.
Is that her? Did she?
Oh, she's definitely said that.
Did she say that?
Oh, yeah, she's
oh
definitely
come
said
on.
that.
I know she's loony, but did she go that far?
There is a school of feminist thought that thinks this.
You lose.
Oh, that's a fun one.
They
So they
literally
literally
think,
believe that the physical strength differences between men and women are just because of the way society
Yep.
treats women.
men
and
are socialized to do sports. I'm thinking
come on, that can't be real.
Yeah,
She
I
really
s-
thinks that?
she said it. I don't know whether she believes that.
See if you can find that.
It's from a video from like 2013 or something.
She seems quite the opportunist.
Well. Well,
And isn't she on the Trust and Verify Galactic Council for Twitter?
She certainly was, which is probably one of
She
the
wasn't?
other reasons Jack... No, she certainly was, which is probably one of the reasons, Jack, that I'm not verified.
You say she certainly was. Is she
Oh, yeah.
still?
I don't know whether she's still, but I know that she certainly was at least a contact for them. But there's been a bit of an interesting development with Miss Sarkeesian, if you'd like to hear about it.
Well, Pete, tell people who she is.
I don't even know if I need to, but
Most people don't know.
Well, that's
You
fair.
live in a very insulated world. Like,
It's
if
true,
I ask my
it's true.
mom who...
Well, yeah, your mum won't know, but
what's
people who use the
feminine
internet.
frequency?
Yeah, of course your mum won't know. Okay, Annie Sarkeesian is an internet feminist who decided, after making a bunch of videos on her YouTube channel in like 2009 through to like 2010 or something, 12, she ended up getting a sort of, favourable reception with the progressive intelligentsia, who were very feminist, very pro-social justice, and they liked her patter because it's pretty stock in trade, and she came across as being very respectable. She's well presented, she's attractive, she's well spoken, she knows her patter, and so they promote her. They made a big deal out of her. She sounds like a total bigot when she's talking about anything.
A bigot?
Yeah.
How so?
Because she'll just say, well, this is men. I mean, the whole premise of feminism is that men are oppressing women. And if men aren't oppressing women, then feminism has no argument. And they also have a sort of a thing they say to each other, where you have the right to hate your oppressor. It's right to do this. And it's like, okay, but I don't think there's ever a right to hate, even if you are being
This
oppressed.
is something that she said personally?
Not her personally. Oh, she probably has said it personally, but this is the sort of ideological thought. I mean, if you read their papers, if you read
We're
their
doing
media,
that they-them thing again, right? So
well,
who
yeah,
are we talking
but
about?
they're
Talking about hardcore feminists?
Yeah, we are talking about like a specific sphere of academic feminists. In her case, sex negative.
What?
Yeah, they don't like objectification.
Hold
They
on.
don't like
What is
sexy women and
sex-
titties.
Sex negative?
Yeah, they don't like sexy women. The male gaze is
So, like,
oppressing women
Lara
by looking.
Croft,
Yeah.
Tomb Raider.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah,
that was
that's-
that was part of the big issue, right?
yeah,
It was like sexism in
horrific
video
oppression
games.
because of Lara Croft. Terrible oppression. I don't know how women can get over it. But Anita Sarkeesian stepped up and was like, you know what? It's wrong to look at these tits. And everyone was like, but she's wearing a really tight top for a reason, and she's not real.
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically, Anita Sarkeesian comes from a school of sex negative feminism, and she decided that she would take advantage of all this. Now, in 2010, there was a video, I think it was 2010, that the video was recorded in black and white of her in a university giving a speech where she says, I'm not a gamer. I had to learn a lot about gaming to get into all this. And then come 2012, I mean, that video wasn't released until after she did her Tropes versus Women in Gaming Kickstarter. May 2012, she starts this Kickstarter, and within the first few days, she starts posting updates on that. I'm being harassed. It's like, well, yeah, people generally react negatively to phenomenal bigots on the internet. They don't like it. People don't like it. I mean, like when you say men are oppressing women, and everything she says is a variant of men are oppressing women. You know, it's the male gaze is highly oppressive to women. Toxic masculinity is highly oppressive to women. So, okay, when can men legitimately look at women, Anita? No answer. What is non-toxic masculinity? There's no such thing. So what you're saying is masculinity and men checking out chicks is just bad, and you hate it, and the men are all bad for doing this, and they're oppressing the women when they're doing this.
Well, that's why I said it seems like she's a bit of an
If I
opportunist. She's got an angle, and she realizes that there's a lot of attention that goes towards that angle, and she runs with it.
I mean, if I turned around and said all women are a bunch of manipulative slags who will take your money and run, they'd be like, you're a fucking
All
misogynist.
right, but I got to stop you there, because I don't think she's ever said all men. I don't think she said that.
She just uses the term men.
I don't think she does. I mean, I really don't think she says.
think so?
She has that guy as her fucking head guy who writes for her.
What, McIntosh? No, she fired him years ago. I know.
What is he doing now?
Nothing, basically. This terrible little thing. But I want to set the record straight in a few things, because this is something that really annoys me. So I went to VidCon recently, and
VidCon?
yeah,
What is that?
YouTube convention in anime.
Sounds like a good time.
It was a really good time for me. It wasn't for them. Their panels looked like a bloody death march. When they spotted us sitting in the crowd, they had like faces like, oh god. I was like,
Why, they get upset at you?
yeah, just because we sat there listening to what they had to say. In fact,
Okay.
have you not heard about this?
No, dude, I'm insulated.
Oh, dude, this is
I
actually
live in the real
hilarious,
world.
right?
It's crazy.
So Anita Sarkeesian, she spots me sitting in the audience, and then she starts freaking out.
Freaking out.
Yeah, she starts saying things like, "There's a constant harasser of mine, calling me, she called me a shithead. She called me a garbage human."
A garbage human.
I did nothing to her. I didn't say a word. I just sat in the audience while she's there cussing me out on the stage. I mean, this now.
So she's on the stage with a microphone, and
Yes.
she's calling you a shithead and a garbage human. And this was because you've made videos about her? Is that what it is?
This is because I've made videos debunking her points. And she's under the impression that all of my videos are about her. And I actually, on the ride over, I got people to counter up for me. I've made around 30 videos in about 4 years referring to her. And that's
a lot.
No. It sounds like a lot. But that's less than 4% of the videos I've made. I've made 780 videos. I work hard.
I'm sure you do, but that's still 30 videos. I don't care if you've made 100 million videos. You still make 30 videos about her.
I don't think that's a large number. Maybe it's a
Well-
large number compared to Anita, who hardly does any bloody work.
But that's another interesting point. But what's interesting about it is, if someone puts something out there, you're gonna expect that someone is gonna come along, especially a guy like you that is very opinionated, and if someone has very different opinions than yours, you're going to have a contrary point.
Of course.
That's definitely not harassing.
It better not be.
Well, it can't be.
We're in a scary
Discourse.
position if that's exactly
Terrifying.
Yeah.
So how are you harassing? What was
not. And that's the thing.
What's the worst thing you've ever said about her?
That she's wrong.
That's it.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, you will never find someone who says she's a good critic. She's a terrible critic, and she always has been. It's always been rightly pointed out to her that she's cherry-picked every time. No one stands by her work. She's become like a symbol of feminism because of all the harassment she's received. Now,
that is a part of the problem, right? That
yeah.
victim culture.
Exactly.
It's a very strange.
Exactly.
Like, you don't get any props unless someone's sending you horrible messages, and then
Because
a
their
lot
work
of people
sucks.
have been caught doing it to themselves, which is really fucked up.
Yeah, loads, like the Black Lives Matter activists and whatnot. But yeah, so basically, her work sucks. It's just bad work. I mean, nobody in the video game industry would turn around and say, you know what, that's great criticism, Nita. Only like the progressive press.
What Black Lives Matter?
It was ages ago, a protest. They basically had run around into the university's computer system, logged into a fake Twitter account, and they sent themselves a bomb threat. And the police tracked it down, and they were like, "We have the video camera footage of you doing this, you idiot!" Yeah, it was actually really funny. But yeah,
People are so funny with their need to be a victim.
it
validates them.
Yeah, it really does. When you don't have an argument, you need to be a victim.
Well, does she expect that
Well,
somehow
let
or another
me-
she's going to be able to put these points out and not have anybody dispute these points?
Well, I'm guessing so. And she always conflates all criticism with harassment. She's never addressed the critic before.
Oh, okay.
And the first time she addresses a critic, it's me, and she's calling me names.
Yeah,
And
that's
it's like,
not.
well, that's not
a
very
good
mature.
look.
Yeah, it's not very good.
It's not a good look.
She says that I'm responsible for all of the harassment. Now,
All of it.
Well, at least
It's definitely not hers. It's not her fault.
No,
If you
it's
have a
everyone
controversial
else's fault.
opinion and someone disputes it, that person who disputes it is
Yeah.
responsible for all the harassment.
Yeah, well, basically, I've always said, right from the get-go, don't ever contact them. Don't ever contact them, because for a start, I mean, they don't want to listen. She's not interested in hearing your fucking opinion, so don't
Right.
bother. She's got nothing but contempt for you. But secondly, don't send her harassment because A, it's immoral, and B, she's got the victim card. That gives her money. When
Right.
when you send her a message saying, "Hey, Nita, I think you're a bitch," she goes cha-ching, and then she runs off to the next interview. She gets paid. I mean, some of her speeches at university, she's been paid $20,000 a speech.
That's hilarious.
I'm not joking, right? And it's just, and for her to go, the internet's being mean to me. Well, maybe if you weren't being a bigot online, they wouldn't be. Maybe if you actually did some solid work and didn't say video games are making everyone sexist, which they're obviously not, this wouldn't be happening to you. But the thing that pisses me off most about the accusations towards me of harassment, apart from the fact that I've never harassed her, and if there was any evidence that I'd harassed her, it'd be all over the internet right now. I mean, it would be nothing but Twitter,
course, yeah.
because they're trying to paint me as a harasser when I'm actually just a critic of hers, and I've always been completely against it. But what really annoys me is that her Kickstarter, if you look at it now, if you go to it, you can pull it up now, and you can see Tropes versus Women, and she's got a spiel, and then, oh, the terrible messages, the harassment. That was in May 2012. I didn't make a video on YouTube until July 2013. This has been happening to her whole career. It's nothing to do with me, it's to do with her. It's because she's a dick. And everyone can see it. And everyone's sick
of it. You call a girl
of
a
it.
dick like you call a guy a pussy?
Yeah. I'm calling her a dick. I don't care. You're a dick, Anita. Everyone knows you're a dick.
He looked into the camera.
Do you know
That's harassment.
Do you want to know something? I've spoken to a lot of interesting people recently since I've been here.
Yeah.
A lot of people who know you personally, Anita, and they say everyone hates you because you're a dick.
Oh, this is getting mean. Did you
Hey,
ever
you
find
should have
that
seen
video?
the article she put up about me today.
Another one?
Well, yeah, just call me a harasser, call me all this stuff. It's like, no, you're a dick, Anita. You're just being a dick.
Did you find a video of her saying that there's no biological difference between the sexes and that men's strength?
It'll be buried in the middle of like a 30-minute diatribe.
I really think that it was her now that I'm thinking about this
no,
video.
I've looked at it as well. Maybe she took it down or something, because I remember seeing it, and I wish I'd saved it.
Someone's got to save it.
Yeah,
Someone has saved it.
Someone on the internet will be able to tweet at us or something.
But that is so hilarious because it's so contrary to biology, just actual science.
Everything she says is contrary to reality. I mean, she'll sit there and she'll pick out like the game Hitman. In her video, she said something like, "You're incentivized to kill the woman, and then stuff her body in a trunk." And the footage she's using, which she didn't take herself, obviously, and didn't credit whoever took it. In the footage she's using, you see like the guy go up and kill the girl, and you see them lose points. And it's like, no, that's a disincentivization. They're not incentivizing you. They're saying they're penalizing you for this, Anita. I thought my very first video was to Anita as well.
Your very first
my
video
very
was
first
to
one
her.
in like July 2013, and the quality
So this
is
started
terrible.
off because of her.
Yeah,
You were inspired.
Well, kind of, but there was a lot of things that kind of that were going on. I was like, I feel the need to say something. Just, but I apart from the quality being terrible, I'm bewildered at her. Look, I listened to it the other day, and I was just like, wow, I had no idea what was going on. And I was just like, look, Anita, I think you're just wrong on this. I don't think you understand, like, there is a lot to this that you've left out. I should have said cherry-picked, but, you know. And that's something that's dogged her whole career, because that's all she's ever done. Her criticism's terrible, and everyone knows it. Nobody likes her because she's a divisive bitch, and all she does is play the victim. She's got nothing. She has nothing, and all she does is lie.
Well, let's not talk about her specifically, because we're kind of beating her down here. But
well, the thing is, it's hard to think of anything genuinely good about her. That's the problem.
Let's not talk about her. I mean, what I'm saying is about these ideas. Instead of concentrating on her as a person.
What's the point? They've been debunked a million times, all over the internet, by everyone and their mother at this point.
Well, what I want to get to, what's interesting to me is like what causes them. What causes these people to group up into these weird sort of echo chambers and start reiterating things that don't really work or make sense. Like there's no biological difference between men and women, especially when it comes to strength. And then the tropes about video games, and also like. Here's the other thing, like when that Gamergate thing happened, it was really fascinating to me that everybody wanted to absolutely lump people in one or two categories. And the two categories are people that are appalled by it, and that think that, you know, sexism is abhorrent and all this stuff is terrible. And then the other people who supposedly, if you wanted some sexy images in video games, you had to be a piece of shit.
Oh yeah.
Like if
the sex negative feminists I was talking about.
Well, it got into this weird category where people are like, hey, we don't want you meddling with art. And whether it's a Frank Frazetta painting.
Censoring it.
Yeah, I mean, like if you look at some of Frazetta's stuff with the girls with the bikinis and
I'm
swords.
I'm actually not familiar, but I mean, hell.
Famous fantasy artist.
Oh, well, are we sort of like talking about like the 80s artwork?
Yes.
Where they're really beautifully painted. It's like these oiled barbarians.
Exactly.
You know? It's a celebration of the human physique at this most perfect zenith.
Yes.
Yes.
It's all Robert E. Howard's books on Conan, and Frazetta was like the most famous of the. Yeah, it was, but it's very cartoonish depictions of women.
Yeah.
You know, like with giant tits and and blood all over the place. And
it's
fun.
like, you know, it's silliness.
It doesn't make you hate women. Like that's what's gross. Like just like looking at Fabio on the cover of a romance novel doesn't mean you hate men.
Yeah.
Right.
In fact, it seems you're kind of lionizing them. Look, this is the perfect depiction of what the artist wanted to see like a man look like. You know, huge rippling hero carrying the maiden or whatever.
Right, but it becomes this weird thing when it's a man. People don't have a problem with it. Like no one says that it demonizes the male figure and that. You know, that you have set these unnatural standards, so you fucked with the self-esteem of all these young men. But you absolutely have, in the same way you do it with women. Like body shaming or, you know, having ridiculous standards for bodies for females. That works with men, too. It's the same thing.
Yeah, of course it does. But they don't care because feminists dichotomize the world as women being oppressed and men the oppressors, and it's okay to hate your oppressor.
Yeah.
That's the root of all feminist thought.
But that's why I want to talk about this in terms of the ideas, because I think it's kind of the same thing as the right versus the left, and I think it's all like a symptom of human psychology.
Right, the right versus the left is tribalism.
It is tribalism, but so is female versus male. When you look at this blind allegiance towards anyone with a vagina, it's very similar to someone who has blind allegiance to anyone who's in a red state.
Yeah, I mean that's true. But the people in the red state, do they say that the blue states are oppressing them?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh, do they?
For sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I wasn't aware of that.
Oh yeah.
Oh, well, maybe it is
hate Obama. He's a communist. He came from Kenya. He wants to ruin America. He wants to kill it from the inside. I mean, that was the big narrative forever.
Well, yeah, but is that them saying he's holding them down?
Well, there was always like a thing that he was holding them down with the economy, or that he was holding them down with Obamacare, and he was ruining so many different factors that makes it America. He hates America.
It doesn't sound exactly the same to me, because the feminists are essentially what is called neo-Marxists, and they take the sort of Marxist dichotomy of the economy with the bourgeoisie oppressing the proletariat through their mere existence and their wealth, and apply it to men being the bourgeoisie and women being the proletariat, which is highly ironic given the evidently privileged status in society women hold.
Well, that's when it got weird, when everybody kept repeating that fucking wage gap thing. That was one of the most frustrating talking points. Even Obama, the goddamn president of the United States on TV reiterating something that he knows is not true.
Yeah.
That was very frustrating. Because I feel like human beings are inclined very naturally to form a group, to stay tribal, and then I think it works with, I think that is a part of what's happening, whether it's neo-Marxism that's connected to it or what. There's something that's happening with feminism versus masculine people.
Yeah,
You know,
the
or
men are the
feminine.
enemy.
But there's no like masculinist, so you have to say masculine
No,
people.
there's meninists, but that's
silly though.
Yeah, that's
They're
a
being
parody.
funny.
Yeah, there's a parody of feminism. It's like, what would you have? Meninism? That sounds dumb, doesn't it? And they're like, yeah, well then that's how feminism sounds to us.
Well, it's the most amazing thing that it's taken so long for male feminists to die off. Like that's finally like rotting away after a few of them have been outed as being creeps.
I was going to say that. Isn't it funny? I mean,
Thank the baby Jesus they got caught because like look, man, there's nothing wrong with being male, and just because you're a human with a dick doesn't mean you're a bad person.
yeah, but they think there's something wrong with being male.
Well,
And you know
they
what?
only do because they want to fuck those girls,
No,
and they
it's-
don't
it's
have any
not
other
even
way
that.
to fuck them.
Well, I mean, that's probably the root of it. But
That's
ultimately-
100%
Yeah,
the
but
root of
ultimately,
it.
you've seen male feminists.
Yes.
They're going to win any fights?
No.
Are
But
they
that's
going
what I'm
to?
saying.
Are they going to? Do they even need to shave? You know,
Some of them do.
They're going to be. They're going to be. They have receding hairlines and fedoras, and they're like miladying all over the place.
Jordan
Because-
Peterson said it best. He said they're sneaky.
No, they definitely are. But they're afraid. They're afraid of like men like you. You know, they're never going to compete with you.
Yeah, but they
They're
don't
never gonna
have
compete with
to. They compete with themselves. That's what
They don't see that way. They
They
see.
got fucked by genetics. Some of
Yeah,
them did.
exactly. A lot of them got fucked by genetics, and so they're taking the only evolutionary strategy they've got. You can hardly blame them. But
What
at
they
the
need
end
to
of
do
the
is
day-
get to the lab and figure out CRISPR.
Yeah.
Work on
work-
re-engineering yourself to look like Thor.
Get down the fucking gym. That's what they need to do. Seriously, if you're a male feminist, just shut up. Stop talking about feminism on the internet. Look at yourself. Go on a diet. Go down the gym. And in a couple of years' time, you'll be a bit bigger. You'll be a bit.
If you're
you'll look a
5'1"
bit more,
and you weigh 80
doesn't
pounds,
matter.
you're fucked.
Nah,
you
it
should
doesn't
just
matter.
keep eating sprouts.
Nah,
and,
I've got a friend. He's quite a short guy. Do you know what he did? He did
did he
martial
do?
arts.
Yeah.
He's a nippy little guy, and he's
Nippy?
quite strong. Oh, yeah, nippy. Yeah. No, he can get around. He can get around. He's an amazing. We go like bouldering as well, climbing. And he's amazing at it. You would not believe how his girlfriend is so attractive.
Believe you.
And he's so self-confident. And
These guys should host a seminar.
this
This is how I did it.
Yeah, he should. He's just
You can too.
it's just self-improvement. You work on
Yes.
yourself, and then things work out for you.
No, I mean, I absolutely think that that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But I understand the motivation why someone becomes a male feminist.
Oh,
They
yeah.
become
Laziness.
the word ally is one of my favorite. Ally. Ally.
I just love that they are now synonymous with creepy harassment.
Well, you kind of knew it all from the beginning that was what it was going on. Everybody knew it, like especially heterosexual men. You're like, I know what you're doing, you fucking weasel. You know, you're putting women above all else. One guy, I read his Twitter profile, and he was talking about, he goes, in his Twitter post, rather, he said, I'm going to stop calling myself a feminist until feminists decide that I'm doing feminism right.
That'll make women respect you.
But the fact that he put it out on Twitter, like you put that out, like this is just like this giant white flag.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, you know, people in general, women being people, respect boundaries. They respect
Yes.
people who will enforce their own boundaries. This guy's literally said, "Hey, I have no boundaries. You tell me what to do. I'll be your slave." No one's going to respect that. You know, I'll be your willing servant. I don't give a shit. I'm going to respect that.
Be
No one's
nice,
gonna respect that.
douchebag. You have to say I'm gonna stop saying I'm a feminist until feminists tell me I'm doing feminism right. Like,
There's a reason
what?
that they call them cucks.
That's a good word.
It is.
That's
It
a good
works
word.
when it
I
comes
didn't
to-
know what it meant. I thought it always meant like a cuckold, like a porn film.
I think it kind of did originally, but now
Yeah.
it's just kind of means someone who won't stand up for themselves,
Yeah.
and that's really good use for it.
Well, it's also it's not just someone who won't stand up for themselves. Someone who's pandering.
Well, yeah.
Like you're pandering to the left. You're trying to paint yourself out as
Yeah,
being
you're
a
selling
progressive.
yourself out.
Yeah.
Hoping that the person you're selling yourself out to will treat you leniently.
See, so instead of talking about individuals, what I'm really fascinated about is the psychology behind what's going on now in this culture of free expression. The fact that a guy like you can, not there's anything wrong with you, but I mean a
thank you very
guy,
much.
Initializing.
just a gentleman from England who doesn't have a connection to the media,
Oh, no.
can, just by virtue of your ability to communicate and put out some YouTube videos and have some really good points, you can have this massive, massive following. This is and these ideas that people are spreading back and forth, even the weird ones like the Kakistan, the frog, and all that shit.
It's just a joke. the
But
whole
it's
thing.
interesting to me. It's
Yeah.
interesting to see what happened. like what I feel like is like Fox News and CNN and even major networks, especially all the ones that are trying to portray narratives, all the ones that are talking about the way life is, they seem to me to be like these huddled up executives at the top of like a giant pile of crocodiles snapping at them. It's like they have completely lost control over what people talk about,
They're on a
discuss.
giant spire of rock, and the ocean's slowly eroding its away.
Well, just
and the
20 years
crocodiles are
ago,
snapping
there
in the
was
water
nothing
around it.
there. There was
Yeah.
no water. There was no crocodiles.
Yeah.
The only information that
fallen
got
away.
out. Yeah, I mean, that was the only information got out was through mass media. Mass media was controlled by corporations. And we felt like for the longest time that was the only way. And they still operate like that's the only way. It's really quite fascinating.
Narrative hegemony. Social media has demolished them, and we're not going back.
No,
This
it's
is
not
the- this
going
is the
back.
future.
It's
Get
not
used
going
to it.
back. And I think the only companies that truly understand that are internet-based companies that are trying to manage it, like whether it's YouTube or Google or even Netflix. They understand it, you
Brave new
know?
world.
They're trying to manage it in some weird ways, though. Like, I'm really bummed out about Netflix thumbs up versus thumbs down. Like, what? You know what you should have? You should have a 100% thing. So give them 1 to 100. The more range you give someone, the better. But up and down, it's just fucking silly.
I mean, if I were going to review things, I would do it recommended, not recommended, and it would be quite subjective to my personal taste. And it would be obviously, look, if you've been following me for a while, you know what I like, and I'd give my reasons, and I'd try and explain it concisely and as objectively as I could. So the largest sweep of people watching the video could understand why I felt the way I did. And so at the end of it, I'd just go, would I recommend it? Yeah, and the mileage may vary, or yeah, you've got to watch this, or something like that,
Right.
But I hate the star system. It's like, well, I mean, it's not. It makes it sound objective when it's not.
Well, sometimes it's objective. I mean, it can be. It's not perfect, though. I agree with you.
Yeah, again, with a lot of this sort of stuff, it's about aesthetics and taste. So
For sure.
I mean, I loved the movie Hardcore Henry. I mean, I like, and I realized that I irrationally love this movie.
That was the single person.
Yeah, the first person.
Yeah.
There was a lot about it.
I never saw that.
Oh, you'll love it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Guy like you,
Looks like
guy like you will
it's
love
crazy.
it. But it's not for everyone. It's for the sort of guy who's got a lizard brain who likes violence.
Lizard brain.
yeah.
That's what you think about me?
No, well, you were an MMA fighter.
Not a fighter.
You were, weren't you?
I kickboxed. I did taekwondo, and there was no MMA when I was
Oh,
fighting.
okay. But did you enjoy fighting other people?
That's a very complicated question. Obviously,
I'm not saying
it.
did you enjoy
I
beating
did it
people up
for
on the
many
streets?
years, so no. I mean, it's complicated in that it was important for me, but I don't necessarily know if I enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed winning, but it was
You'll like hardcore. Henry.
it was a task.
You'll like it when you get past the sort of maybe the beginning of it is more shaking than the rest of it, but when you get past the initial sort of this is weird to look at, it's fast paced, it's action packed, and it definitely taps into that sort of lizard brain where it's the male desire to fight. This guy at the end of the film that he's literally in like a fist brawl with like 30 other dudes, and it's the most insane. It's all coming at him, and it's just bam, bam, bam. It's get stoned and watch it. Get drunk and watch it. It's just the best thing if you're into that sort of thing. But if you're not into that, you won't like it at all. You'll hate it. You won't see any
sometimes I'm
value in
into
this.
that. Like I like John Wick.
Yeah, exactly. Not always, but like if
I
you-
like
if
John
you're in the
Wick
mood.
2. How about that?
I've never
wasn't even
seen
good.
that. But it's for a certain kind of person in a certain kind of mood. But when it hits right, it was the first film in a long, long time that I was just sat in the cinema just with a smile on my face. I was just enjoying this. This was great fun, But I appreciate that it was just like tapping into the primordial desire to defeat your enemies.
I just thought it was interesting they shot it like a video game, like Quake, first-person
I love
shooter.
Quake and stuff.
Yeah. So this VidCon thing that you went to, who puts this together?
Hank and John Green.
And who are they?
The Vlog Brothers. They're famous YouTubers. And I find it very interesting. When Anita was calling me a shithead and garbage human, that's a direct violation of their code of conduct.
And did they do anything about it?
No.
Because she's a feminist.
Because she's
a woman.
Sarkeesian.
Oh, because she gets special
It's
Why?
because she's an East Sarkeesian. Because
Why does she get special treatment?
Because at this point, she's basically become the avatar of feminism. If she fails...
Is that real, though?
I swear to God, in their
But
minds...
I mean, is she respected in that world?
No, everyone hates her. Why do they still prop her up? Because she's an East Sarkeesian. If she
That
goes
doesn't make
down-
any sense. What
I
does
know.
that mean?
Well, there's a mythos that's built up around her. And
that's a good word.
Yes. It's... and they've all propped her up. They've all said good things about her. They've all defended her. And if it turns out that she is in fact an abuser, which she did, according to the VidCon Code of Conduct, which it
What is the code of conduct?
Oh, I can't remember it verbatim, but I read it out in a video. It's one of my latest videos. It was just a quick message to Hank and John Green. And I know that thousands of people emailed them saying, hey, look, she did violate your code of conduct from a position of institutional privilege at VidCon. She was on the panel. I didn't have a microphone. She had a microphone. She's calling me names. She's accusing me of things that aren't true.
And she was doing that while you were in the audience?
Directly, looking me in the eye. And it was like, okay, that's fine, but that's not right. And they've done nothing. They have done nothing. They've said nothing.
Did you talk to them about it?
And then afterwards, all I got from her fans, and I mean like, hundreds and hundreds of messages, and I just retweeted them all night, with exactly the same language she uses when she's displaying, oh, look at the nasty messages I'm getting, of people calling me a garbage human, which is what she called me. And so she has done absolutely nothing different. And so I said, right, Hank and John, she's violated your code of conduct. Her fans, she's incited a cyber mob of harassers, exactly as she claims I do, but she has actually done this. Then on the Saturday, she was due to be on a panel about cyber harassment.
See, but it can't be harassment when she's a woman and you're a man because you are the oppressor. So it's the same thing as racism.
So
like a black person being racist against a white person is impossible.
But the only reason to do this then, to take no action,
right,
is if you are highly ideological. And interestingly,
so you feel like they're highly ideological.
Oh yeah, incredibly biased.
But why are they? If they're YouTube stars, I mean, aren't they like? Don't
They're
they understand?
very progressive.
They're very progressive.
Very progressive.
But you're fairly progressive too.
No, I'm a liberal. I'm not progressive.
But what is the difference between a liberal?
A liberal wants
and
quality of
progressive?
opportunity. A progressive wants quality of outcome.
Quality of outcome.
Yeah, complete night and day. It really drives. What the problem with liberals and progressives?
Is that real? Wow, this is by whose definition is that? I've always thought progressive means that you support gay rights, you support
And that's
women's
the
rights,
outcome
you
of gays
support.
with. That's the outcome of gays with non-gays. They want gays to
with non-gays?
Yeah, they want gays to have the same rights as. No, I mean, don't get me wrong. I want that too. And this is what I was going to say. There's a lot of overlapping magisteria when it comes to these things. For example,
Another great word, magisteria. I've never heard that before. I've never heard
they're
anybody
like
use that
areas
one.
of interest, things that
Right.
they want to have, domains they want to
Magisteria
have.
sounds so much better than areas of interest, though. Write that down, Jamie. We're just going to start using that one. Magisteria. Oh, sorry.
I'm glad I've given you something.
Yes.
So yeah, basically, a liberal. There's no real argument against gay rights from a liberal perspective because liberals want universal rights.
Of course.
If some people can get married, gays should be able to get married.
So
what's the argument? Oh, I'm Christian. Get fucked. I'm an atheist. Not an argument, right? Whereas the progressives, they want it because someone else has it. Someone else has this, therefore they want this because they want it. And then,
But by whose definition? By theirs or yours?
theirs.
So you're defining them?
well,
that way?
that's what they define it as. They're the
Do
ones.
they?
They're the ones saying all this. I mean, like, for affirmative action is the example of this.
Okay.
Like, a liberal would never ask for affirmative action because in the liberal worldview, people should be free to pursue their own goals. Now, I mean, liberals are usually very anti-racist. That's not a category on which you would judge someone. Same with sex, I would never turn around and say, right, okay, well, your CV is really good. I mean, you clearly know what you're doing, but you've got some tits, so get out. That would be ridiculous. That's not a reason to do that. But the progressive will do that if you're a man. The progressive will say, well, I'm sorry, we've got, we want equality. Well, and then this is what we define equality differently. I call it equality of opportunity, they call it equality of outcome. Because they'll turn around and say, well, you know what, we've already got like 70% men. So, I mean, your CV might be great, but you've got a dick, so we can't take you. We're going to take that unqualified woman instead because we need to get to parity. Because they want equality of outcome. They want 50% men, 50% women.
I have a friend who was a big wig at a big internet company, and they had to deal with that shit all the time, where they would have men who were far more qualified, who they were getting pressure to push out to make room for, like they were specifically looking for a qualified black woman. They were like going out of their way because they wanted to give out the appearance of diversity.
Exactly.
But that's because they're also scared of criticism, right? So they're scared of being attacked
From
by
progressive
these
activists.
and by race pimps. I mean, there are a lot of race pimps, which is a dark. Yeah, it's not mine. They used it for Jesse Jackson back in the day.
But it's a good term.
And he's been outed as a race pimp. I mean, they've talked to people who's famously come to organizations and said, I'm going to give you diversity courses, and you're going to pay me a certain amount of money, or we're going to protest you.
It's like a secular religion, isn't it? And they're a new priesthood.
Well, it's people don't like being criticized, and they don't want it to hurt their business. And when you
get fucked.
Especially if you're dealing with an internet business, internet-based businesses, you know, like Google, for example, Apple, classically liberal, right? You would say progressive.
Well, progressive, yeah, they're not liberal at all.
Very left.
That's the thing. In
left.
England, liberal actually means liberal. In the United States, liberal means progressive.
Well, I hate all these fucking terms.
They're a nightmare.
It really is a nightmare.
It's taken me a long time to really be able to hammer out the ins and outs ideologically of it, and so I can explain it quite efficiently now because it's difficult.
Well, what's really dark about something like progressive thinking, well, not progressive thinking, but rather affirmative action, is that you're going to create a certain amount of racism by putting someone who's unqualified in a position just because of their color. It's racist. You're being discriminatory
on the basis of race to a white person.
Yeah,
that's racism. They are racist.
But you go to the deep root of it, and you got to realize, well, there's some people that they're given a terrible hand of cards. We got to be able to figure out how to fix that hand of cards, how to make it a little bit more balanced in our cities. How do you do that? That's a good question.
There's only one way to do it.
But that's where it gets really crazy. Oh, I don't know about that, man.
Balls, doesn't it?
I don't know about that, but if people that are born in these crime-ridden communities and they get no assistance whatsoever from the very government that's sending billions of dollars overseas to assist these other countries.
I'm not against helping them. Absolutely not against helping them. I mean, like, I'm not saying you go hang. Absolutely not. But anything you do has to start with them saying, I want to change.
Sure.
And if they can't start, if that's not a premise they're going to start with, then you can do nothing for them.
Well,
if they're happy where they are and how they are right now, then you can't change anything. All you'll do is throw good money after bad, and they'll know it. I mean, like, think about people who win the lottery. Are they happy?
Some of them.
Mostly, though, it ruins their lives, doesn't it?
That's what they say.
Ruins their relationships.
But I feel like the people who write those articles are always sad they didn't win the lottery. So
maybe, but I think there's there's
probably a lot of dudes out there winning the lottery that are just straight balling, having a great time.
Something given has no value. It's only the things that you own that have value.
I don't know if that's always true.
Yeah, most of the time it is, though. I think it takes some kind of person.
And maybe if there's like a certain amount of money, where maybe you just got to ease into it. Maybe it's one of those things. Maybe if you win $100 million and you just like pretend you only won $100 grand, spend that. I don't start slow. Don't get a Ferrari.
I'm not saying we don't help
a Camaro.
You've got to help these people, but they have. You have to begin from a position where they say, you know what, look, I want help. Because if they're sat there going, I don't want to change, well, then they're not going to change.
Well, I understand that, but I mean, a lot of them don't even understand how they would go about changing, and they're constantly surrounded and reinforced by all these people around them that are in jail or committing crimes.
I speak to black YouTubers occasionally, and a lot of them are like, you know what, they do blame a lot of stuff like that.
See, but it's not.
If this was a white guy, and he was like, the black man's holding me down, you'd be like, shut up. Shut up. You wouldn't accept it. And if you're going to accept that from them, that's you being a racist. Treat them like you would treat white people. If this was white people sitting around going, I'm not going to do anything, I'm going to join a gang, I think black mans or the Jews are trying to hold me down or something.
Yeah, you didn't let me finish. I wasn't saying that white people are in fact holding black people down. I was saying that idea of the white man, like they have this mandate, we got to hold the black people down.
Apologize.
It's all right. It's a standard argument. I don't think there's a coalition of white people trying to hold black people down.
I mean the thought in their head.
Yeah, it's a sad thought.
The perception.
I think that there absolutely was certain times. I mean, there's absolutely neighborhoods that black people were not allowed to buy real estate. There's absolutely systematic racism,
and there are still a lot of racists around. I'm not saying it's not justified. That's the thing.
Right.
I'm not saying it's not justified, and I think that's where like the argument goes off the rails because they go, "What do you mean all this stuff's happened? Yeah, it has happened, and there are racists, but you don't have to let that hold you back.
No,
And
you
it's
definitely
you
don't.
that is up to it.
Yeah, I think they need examples. I think more examples and more role models in that direction.
I've seen, I can't remember the guy's name, but I remember seeing this this black doctor doing a speaking tour at
Was he a real doctor or a chiropractor?
I don't know what the difference is there.
Chiropractors aren't really doctors. I just found
Shade
that out
throw.
recently.
Really?
No, it's real.
Oh,
yeah,
is it?
They don't go to medical school. Yeah, isn't that fucking crazy? I didn't know about that
Holy
until I'm having her on the
And they get to
podcast. The woman
snap
who wrote
people's
that
spines
article,
around.
dude, they kill people. People
Yeah,
have
they
died
do.
from that.
And they
They've
don't go to
died.
medical
Oh,
schools.
there was some recent thing that Red Band sent me about some Playboy playmate who died because the chiropractor adjusted her neck and she fucking died. People die every year. They do it to babies, man. They adjust babies. There's people that do like chiropractic adjustments on babies. Their bones aren't even fully formed. Their bones are soft. And these
Whoa.
assholes are manipulating them.
I'm really glad you told me that, because I got a
I didn't know.
2.5-year-old son. I mean,
Look at
there's
that.
nothing wrong with
Playboy model Katie May's death caused by chiropractor. Autopsy finds. Scroll up so I could read that fucking this nonsense. I thought they were doctors. I thought when a doctor tells when you say Dr. Mike, I thought it was a doctor. I thought you went to medical school and learned how to be a chiropractor. No.
I can't believe you're allowed to do that
Not
without
only
being
that,
a doctor.
Settle down. Ready for this? The guy who invented it was a magnetic healer. Okay, the guy invented chiropractic. There's all this like subluxation. There's all these words they use.
Did he have
They're in
crystals?
total, yes, entirely fake. Not only that, the guy who invented it very possibly was murdered by his son. That's a suspicion. His son ran him over for sure, and they think he might have done it on purpose. And then his son ran him over with a car, and then took over the business. And his son was a totally shady piece of shit,
Well, clearly.
a fraud.
Right over his own father.
Well, it could have been an accident, a tragic accident, and a love dad. But the allegation is that he ran over his dad to take over the
Scary
family
stuff. I had
business.
no idea.
It is not real at all. It is not a real science. There's no science to support it. There's but the crazy thing is, it's so accepted that insurance pays for this shit. She had some clotting and went to the hospital where they tried to do some procedures, but she passed away. So this guy adjusting her neck, and they tore her vertebral artery.
Did he have her in like a headlock or something?
No, man, when you're adjusting you got to understand there's bones in there and there's violent jutting. If you're a tender person or if you have some
Say a
sort of
model.
vulnerability, a model. They tore her fucking artery rather, her article, and subsequently cut off blood flow to her brain. Her death was ruled accidental. What in the fuck,
Can we
man?
get these people stopped somehow?
Well, how do you
Because that's really
call
scary.
yourself a doctor?
I don't know.
This is what confuses the shit out of me. All these guys that have called themselves doctor, when I talked to them, I thought they were an actual fucking doctor. Like I went to a place like, this is Dr. Pete. Dr. Pete's gonna work on you. Dr. Pete's not a fucking doctor. Like it's 100% fake. What is the article? Pull up that article. Like chiropractors are bullshit. Because I want to give that lady props. She's gonna come on my podcast.
Oh, awesome.
She calls herself the science babe. Yvette, the science babe.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
You know who she is? The Sci Babe.
She sounds awesome, though.
Yes.
Pro science.
I'm very excited. I'm very excited to have her on here. The article was, it was actually synchronicity because it was a conversation that I was having with Steve Ranella, who's a friend of mine, a couple of weeks ago, when he was talking about his brother's got some issue with atrophy of his arm. He's been going to a chiropractor, and I said, I think chiropractors are bullshit. And so after the podcast, I was thinking, was I being too hard on chiropractors? Was I being a dick? So then I started researching chiropractors.
Yeah.
And I found all this crazy shit about the fucking magnetic healers and all this stuff. Here's the article. Chiropractors are bullshit. You shouldn't trust them with your spine or any other part of your body. And what is her name that she wrote this? So we can give her some. How do you? Yvette. Ooh, here we go. D'Entremont. It's D apostrophe capital a low level D. What is this bullshit non-American spelling?
Yeah.
Ew.
Or possibly Canadian.
Yeah.
Quebecois.
Lowercase D. Apostrophe large capital.
Don't worry,
E.
I'm in favour of banning French as well.
I like French people.
No, the language.
I like their
I mean,
food,
not
too.
the French. But we could ban the
Language
people
sounds
too.
good if there's.
There's one acceptable form of bigotry in England that's against the French, so fuck the French.
Oh really? You're allowed to? How come you can do that?
Because we lost 100 years ago.
Oh, so it's an England thing.
Yeah, we spent 100 years kicking the shit out of French, and then God intervened to save them.
Yeah. Francis having a well, you
let
guys
me finish this talk about the doctor, because this
Okay.
basically, like, I know that there are probably going to be a lot of black people who are sat there going, well, holy shit, my whole life I've been like, I know that the white man's keeping me down and stuff like this, but this isn't all coming from me. That's the thing. I'm not fucking an expert here. This is coming. I wish I could remember this guy's name. It was like a couple of years ago that I watched this guy doing the speaking tour, and he was a black doctor, but he's like a PhD in, I don't know, business studies or something like that. It wasn't like, you know, he was not a chiropractor. But I was absolutely loving his speech to like a bunch of kids in school, because he was just saying, look, if you drop out, you won't get to where you want to go. I mean, you've got to look at it sensibly. Just look at it through like an Aristotelian lens. You are what you do. Okay, what do you want? Where do you want to end up? You want to end up as a scientist? Okay, well, if you drop out of school, that's that goal off the table. You can't become a scientist by dropping out of school. So, no matter how much you hate school, you just got to fucking stick it out. You got to
if you want to do something that's involved.
Yeah, if you want to get to a scientist, so you plot it and you're right. Okay, so I've got to get to college, I've got to get, university, get PhD. Then I've got to make sure that I've done the right courses to get to the right field. You've got to plot this out. If you drop out at any point, well, there we go. That's you screwed your life plan there. So you're going to have to figure out something to do. And I know, because I did exactly the same thing. There's just no getting around it. No one can give that to you. You've got to give it to yourself. That's what empowerment is. If you want to be empowered, you've just got to go, you know what? Let's just assume the white man hates you. Let's just assume he does. Every white man. Just assume we're all fucking racist.
Why would you assume that, though?
Because
That's a
this is the
foolish
worst
thing
case
to
scenario.
assume.
This is worst case scenario. Let's think about it. Worst case scenario. Every white person is racist. They want to hold you back, but legally they can't. So you might be thinking, right, okay, there's going to be some bigotry. So what are you going to do? You're going to work harder. That's the only way you're going to do it. If you want to get to where you're going to go, you've got to work harder.
But then you're living in a paranoid world where you're delusional
I know.
and every white person hates you.
I'm not suggesting you should.
That's not really.
No, hang on. I'm not suggesting you should actually do that.
Well, why even bring it up then?
Because that's the worst case scenario for them. That's what they'll say. The white man's trying to hold me back. Okay, let's say he is. Let's just take that as a premise, right? Okay, but does he actually? He's not. I mean, they do actually have affirmative action for your university and stuff. So even if we still assume that this is somehow him being a racist and hating black people, you can still go, well, I can still take advantage of that. If what I need is these grades in these subjects, go and get those grades in those subjects. In fact, you might think, well, Christ, I might actually go for the grade up just in case the white man tries to screw me even harder. I'm going to work even harder. You think, well, Christ, that means you've got to work hard. Yeah, you've got to work hard.
I love the term the white man as if they're unified.
White man.
The white man. They're not unified in anything other than keeping black people down.
Yeah.
Like they're
got to keep a brother down, because
I mean, white
except
men
for when he gets to the presidency.
Clearly are like in dispute over everything.
Yeah.
Everything from top to bottom. The new center is the new thing that keeps getting bandied about.
The woke centrists.
The centrists. The new center.
The extremes are cancer, and we should just ignore them.
Yeah, well, that's the center sounds ridiculous too. It all sounds ridiculous.
I know. But ask yourself, would you rather talk to Ben Shapiro or Richard Spencer?
Ben Shapiro.
Exactly. Would you rather talk to me or Anita Sarkeesian? Well, maybe not Anita Sarkeesian.
I would like to talk to her.
Yeah, okay, she's a bad example. Me or someone who says that, all white people are oppressing all black people.
I always want to talk to someone who, has these extreme beliefs like I believe she does.
I don't mean for
just because
reasons.
I want to know, what goes on in her head. I want to know why she thinks that there's something wrong with being male to the point where every male has toxic masculinity.
I mean, I'm talking about for political candidates. Would you rather have two people who are relatively moderate, relatively close to the center?
Oh, you're talking about political candidates now?
Sorry, I should have specified.
How'd you get there?
Well, because that's the whole the center is the political sphere.
Oh, is it? I see. I feel like it's an ideology more than it is a political thing.
Well,
it's more
it's
like
not
how you live your life more than how you vote.
Yeah, it's not like an ideology in and of itself. You've got center left, center right. They've got similar but different ideological traditions, and I mean, it's basically the problem is when you say it's someone else's fault. That's the worst thing you can do, because you're disempowering yourself.
Except when it clearly is someone else's fault.
Sometimes it is, yeah.
Sometimes it is.
But most of the time it's not. Most of the time it's your own fault.
Yeah, like the victim mentality that you were talking about when we were talking about hardcore feminists that are constantly blaming men for things. But the problem is what is it like being a chick? It's probably fucking terrible. It's probably not
that's
always.
I mean, that's in the term, really misogynist.
In the term that you didn't let me finish, you fuck.
Sorry.
What I'm saying is,
I'm so sorry.
When women are constantly worried about being victims, right? Women are worried. Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah, I've talked to some that talk
Which
about
ones?
Driving home. They get nervous when they're walking into certain areas at night in a way that a man doesn't.
It's interesting because that's the same opinion that Saudi Arabians have of the West.
How so? What do you mean?
You've given me the feminist narrative that all women are constantly afraid of men.
No, I think a lot of women are, though.
Yeah, no,
I mean,
I'm not saying but I'm not saying they're not. But like, when you say right, the overwhelming majority of women are afraid of men. That's
Right.
that's the feminist narrative. That's also the Wahhabi narrative from Saudi Arabia, and that's why they have to go. Well, that means that our women aren't allowed out. They've got to wear burqas. They can't. They've got to effectively become invisible, so men aren't going to predate.
Well,
on
they
them.
have a very ancient culture, and in that culture, women
Actually,
are
they
treated
don't.
ridiculously different. What do you
Actually,
mean they don't?
Wahhabism arrived in the 18th century with Abdul Wahhab,
That's 1700. That's pretty ancient.
to an American,
Yeah,
not to anyone
I'm
else.
American, man.
Okay, but I'm not.
It's an ancient culture.
It's not.
My point
It's not
is,
ancient at all.
it's old as fuck. My point is,
It's not as old as your country.
okay, the point, it's 1776.
Yeah, exactly.
It is.
This is like 1780 or something like that. But even
Okay,
then,
so you want it's
had
older
English-
by 4 years? This
Yeah, but
country's older by 4 years.
Your country existed
Come on.
before 1776. It just wasn't
Sort of.
independent. No, it absolutely existed. It's the same
Right,
intellectual
there were some
tradition.
people here, a bunch of
Yeah,
fucking campers.
hundreds of years before.
Like
you
the
know?
people that walk the
Exactly.
Appalachian Trail.
Yeah, absolutely. But this is way newer and way more cancerous as well. You know?
Okay.
There's a lot of great stuff about
The
American
point being,
philosophy here.
there is a very different classification of women versus men in Wahhabism, right?
It's the same theory behind it. They say exactly the same words.
What do you mean?
Women are afraid of men.
Yeah, but some women are. I mean,
Yeah,
like
some
in
women
certain
are.
circumstances, what I'm trying to get at is that the way women think about men is very different than the way men think about women.
Well,
A man does not walk through a group of women and worry about being raped.
No.
A man does not walk through the streets at night and worry some woman's going to come out of the darkness and grab his ass.
Sure, but a woman doesn't walk into a courthouse, a divorce proceeding, and think, I'm going to lose everything.
That's true. That's true. Unless you're Roseanne and you're dating Tom Arnold, right? Boom. She still is paying that dude.
You know,
Hello.
again,
That's one for the team. We got that one.
Exception that proves the rule. There,
Right.
You know, 90% of the time, the woman. I mean, 90%. I mean, you hear horrific stories. You talk to some of the MRAs, you get some horror stories where, I mean, the woman's just
MRA, men's rights activists.
Yeah, I know,
you
but
use
they're
all
nice
those
people.
terms,
I'm immersed in it all day.
but people aren't.
Then-
People that are listening to
Hey.
this, a lot of them are not.
Get your ass off the sofa. Stop watching TV.
Or
Nothing
go
important.
online and just be immersed in that world. No, go outside.
No, why?
You don't have to be an M. You don't have
What
to
do you mean?
know
I
what
came
an
all the way
MRA
here. I
is.
spent thousands of pounds to come here to tell you what an MRA is. No, but the thing is, this is the thing, right? This is, and I say this with the greatest respect from the more venerable generations than mine, who are more used to the television. People don't watch TV anymore, and they won't go back to it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think
I know
it's
I'm right.
dying.
We've got the statistics to prove that. I've done videos on it. We've got all the sources and stats. It's only the older generations. I mean, like in Britain, all of the TV channels, Channel 4 was the young, hip, cool TV channel when I was young. The average age of the viewer now is 44.
Well, once I found out that old dude had been fucking kids for all those years, Jimmy
Savile?
Savile.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, yeah, you
I think that lost a lot of
No,
faith in
that's not the reason.
English TV watcher.
No, it's not. That's not the reason. The
I
reason.
would say it's not the reason. Jesus Christ.
So you guys, I've been dealing with some people who are fucking idiots.
I get it.
You know, and I've had to be like really, really specific
Very
because
linear.
there is a group of people online who know that I'm right and they don't like that I'm right.
They don't
Because-
like you're right?
Oh no, they hate that I'm right.
Are we talking about Nina Sarkeesian again?
Her fans, they hate me, and I don't want to give them any more ammunition than
I
necessary.
so bad that she's not defending herself or
She won't.
doesn't have the
Hey,
opportunity
I-
to.
when she called me a piece of shit and a garbage human, I had said nothing up until that point, so I just yelled back, I just want to talk.
No mercy, no pity, no fear.
And she was like, oh, whatever, dude. And it's just like, I came all this way to hear what you had to say, and all you could do is insult me. That was the one interaction you had with the critic.
Rehash this, please.
I know, but
Jesus Christ.
It's I've been personally slighted, man.
I get it. I get it. No, I mean, I think.
And I'm being defamed all across the internet now. There's a narrative going around the progressive journalists that has already been debunked by an actual journalist called Tim Pool, and the video evidence of the event that I personally took. That I stormed the stage and started screaming abuse at her. They're saying that. They'll probably
who is saying that?
Journalists and like the
actual journalists. Like pull up an actual article.
Well, no,
tell me an actual article
yet.
that said that.
There probably aren't any yet. But I bet you tomorrow going on, there are articles about me, and some of them will say something like, I abused her.
Pause.
She is somehow a victim.
Pause. Do you not understand the irony of we're talking about people labeling themselves as victims, and you are labeling yourself as victim of a crime that has not occurred?
No,
You're
I am
talking about
victim.
articles that are being written by journalists and videos that are being made, but they have not been made yet. And then you're saying, just watch, they are going to be made.
Yeah, but that's because I've been down this road.
Do you? Okay, not see. Come on, you got to be able to see that.
Well, it's not that I mean, like, I'm not like a victim. This is something that happened to me.
Right, but do you get that?
Oh yeah,
What we're just talking about right here.
Well, I don't think
asked
it is
you
ironic.
who is saying that you stormed the stage. You tell me journalists, and I say where are these articles, and you say just wait, they're going to watch.
At the moment, we're talking about like rumors. You know, for example, like Tim Pool said that a friend of his, I think she's an actress, but you know, it's the same sort of
okay, but that's
sort
not
of LA circles.
That's someone gossiping.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that someone actually a journalist wrote an article about you storming the stage.
They haven't yet.
But why do you think they would?
But it's
why
going
would
on social media.
Why would you even concentrate on that if it has not occurred? I mean, isn't this sort of like a black guy complaining about the man holding you back when there is no man holding you back?
No, I don't think it's analogous.
I mean, it is.
No,
it is. You're talking about being a victim of a crime that hasn't occurred.
No, but I know what these people are like. I've been dealing with them for long enough now.
I know what those white people are like, man. I've been dealing with them my whole life.
Yeah, but we actually have a precedent from doing this as well.
Right, but they're not doing it right now, and you're saying they are.
They are. They're on social media right now. I mean, like, you got like journalists like Ian Miles Chung who said, right, so the prevailing narrative among journalists at the moment is that Sargon stormed the stage and abused Anita Sarkeesian, when video evidence says the exact same.
This is something that he posted online?
Yeah, he posted on Twitter.
So there's no articles, but there is a Twitter
post.
It's,
you can tell that it's coming up. There are going to be.
You can tell.
It's brewing. I mean, this is how these rumors start, and then someone starts reporting it, and then suddenly you get a narrative going on. I mean, and I'm not the victim of this because I've got a large enough reach to be able to say,
let's switch
the video is
because I think
real.
People listening to this who have no idea who the fuck Anita Sarkeesian is and don't even know who you are, they like. There's a lot of people listening to this. I would like to get to more interesting things. Okay, because I think you're an interesting guy.
Oh, thank you.
I think you're a little wrapped up in this right now, which is okay. I
I'm at the
understand
center
it's
of
very
it.
personal.
And, it's, you know, and I tell you what, it was.
But you're a very smart guy, and your videos are excellent. You know, and
your podcasts are great.
Thank you.
I can't wait to Russ.
Who's Russ? Your friend?
Yeah, he's a huge fan of yours.
What's up, Russ?
Huge fan
How
of
you
yours.
doing, Russ?
I can't wait to see it.
Do you like now that you have this gigantic audience? Do you feel a certain amount of responsibility?
Oh yeah, I always have.
Yeah?
Intellectual integrity is the most important thing. And the great thing about this, and the great thing about the way the internet works, is that I mean, look at the people who are at the top. Look at like someone like PewDiePie.
Mm-hmm.
Man of outstanding moral character.
Is he? Do you know him? Do you hang with him?
I've spoken to him a few times, but I don't need to hang with him to know. Look at what he does. He doesn't go around bullying people. He doesn't go around lying about people.
Right.
He goes around doing charity and being like, hey, bros, you know, and being nice to people and being inspirational.
What happened with him? You would know
got
that.
framed.
Okay, but let's go over the actual. This is. By the way, this has affected me, and it affected a lot of YouTube people where their YouTube videos used to have much freer monetization, meaning that for people listening, say if Sargon puts out a YouTube video, you could have ads on that YouTube video, and your YouTube's videos get a lot of downloads, man. I mean, it would be very lucrative for you.
Yeah.
And then with us, our YouTube money was cut by more than 60%, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Or
something
crazy.
To retain 40% of your income was pretty good as well.
Yeah. Well, anything controversial, anything having to do with anything right-wing is deemed not friendly for advertising. Anything that has drugs in the title is deemed not friendly for advertising. It's like we've literally been able to change the title of things and re-upload them, and then the ads, they accept the ads.
Bot just
so the same content. So what all this came from is PewDiePie, who has an enormous YouTube presence, right? Doesn't he have like 50 million followers?
55.
Holy shit. And he made some videos that, what is it, the Washington Post? Is that what it was? Or Wall Street Journal?
Yeah.
Wall Street Journal.
Can I tell you about it?
Please
It's
do.
funny as fuck.
Please do, because you, I'm sure, are much more knowledgeable.
I did a bunch of videos on this, and it was the funniest thing in the world. I love the language they use as well. What's a scoop?
A scoop is a news story that other people are not aware of yet. And
Okay,
you got it. You got it first.
So if tens of millions of people have seen something, and then if I'm a Wall Street journalist and I come along and I find something that tens of millions of people have seen, can I rightly call that a scoop?
Well, you can definitely call it a news story, and you can definitely say that people in the this goes back to what we were talking about before. Whereas they have a hierarchy of viewership, like what is a real network, what is a real newspaper, what is real journalism. Like in their mind, I'm sure the Wall Street Journal considers themselves to be in the hierarchy versus someone who has, but they don't have 55 million downloads. They don't. I mean, there's no way. If the Wall Street Journal puts out a video,
it's a couple of million.
Yeah, if they put out a video, if they got a million hits on their video, that would be a big deal.
Oh yeah, they'd be thrilled.
If PewDiePie had only 1 million hits on one of these videos,
shocked.
he would be super depressed.
Yeah.
He is a much bigger entity than them. But in their mind, like a scoop is them, the legitimate media,
so
pointing out something in the illegitimate, this new weird video blogosphere.
Yeah. So basically, PewDiePie, he's a comedian and he makes jokes.
Right.
But he's like I said, he's a man of good character, and parents should be thanking PewDiePie for being the person he is, because he's talking to their kids, and their kids are going to grow up being decent people because of his influence. But the Wall Street Journal, Ben Fritz and Rolf Winkler, and there was another one, I can't remember his name at the moment, they decided what they were going to do is, and I don't know who put them up to this, obviously, but they were going to watch about 6 months of his video, go through and find any anti-Semitic jokes that he'd made. Well, I mean, by definition, it's a joke, so it's not.
6 months?
Yeah, 6 months.
They sat together.
He does a video every day, and they got about, I don't know, like 2 minutes of footage or something with him making jokes at the expense of the Nazis, effectively. And they were like, wow, this guy's promoting anti-Semitism.
I would like to
Nazism.
see those jokes, because I've heard about them, but I don't know the actual jokes that he said that they were saying. But let's get to it. Yeah. They were saying that he is making light of being a Nazi or pretending to be a Nazi, and that this is what's fucked up about it.
He was promoting anti-Semitism by parodying the Nazis.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
Yeah, try to explain to people.
How does Hogan's Heroes work then?
Yeah, exactly. Isn't Mel Brooks a bit of an old anti-Semite?
Jesus Christ, he must be.
Yeah.
Even though he's
Springtime
Jewish.
Hitler, oh God, just start,
Yeah, I mean, Springtime for Hitler, you could say, was somehow or another humanizing
I imagine
Hitler.
that created a lot of Nazis.
Can you imagine if somebody made
That's
that
their
argument?
argument,
Imagine if someone made the argument that Mel Gibson created Nazis. That's how far we've come.
Mel Brooks.
With our Mel Brooks. What did I say? Mel Gibson?
Yeah. He might well have actually have.
That was a Freudian. That was clearly a Freudian. All I ever think about when someone says Mel Gibson drunk, I think of him yelling about Jews at cops. That's all I think of.
Big beard and everything.
Crazy.
Just like crazy old
the
Mel.
fucking Jews.
It's like Jesus, Mel.
Jesus, Mel.
just dude.
Let's see if we can...
right poster boy right there.
Yeah, well, he is. Well, he's a serious 9/11 conspiracy believer, and where's that Charlie Sheen?
Oh, probably.
Maybe I'm lumping them together.
But
anyway, I think I might be.
So these videos, one of them was the funniest thing, because they were taking the jokes were like 20 seconds of joke taken out of like a 10-minute video, where it's just like a cutaway to a skit. One of them was a joke about how the media takes his jokes out of context to try and frame him as something negative.
Right, and they took it out of context and used it.
And it was just like, well, there we go.
Which is amazing.
It's incredible.
It's amazing that they have the balls to do that.
And they were not only proud of what they did, they called it a scoop, and then they went to advertisers and said, look at this hate speech.
But how did they get away with doing that? How did they get away? How come no one from the Wall Street Journal sat them down and said, well, listen, this is definitely not him saying that you're going to take something out of context and then doing it, is it? because if it is, and then you took it out of context and did exactly what he's saying you shouldn't do, that's kind of crazy.
It's mental.
It is mental.
It's absolutely insane.
But they feel like they can get away with it because they're in the hallowed halls of actual media and they're putting this stuff out there. Jamie, see, did you find it? See what you can find in terms of the actual jokes that PewDiePie said that are supposedly.
Yeah, grab them. The funny thing though is that if you look at their numbers, they look like that.
The Wall Street Journal.
Yeah, if you look at his numbers, they look like that. And what's so strange about it?
He's making hand gestures down for the Wall Street Journal, up for PewDiePie. Yeah.
And what's so strange about it though is that PewDiePie isn't their competition. You know.
All right, here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go. Let's some of them. Let's see what we got here.
My name is PewDiePie. Whoa.
Okay, so him, 27-year-old, better known as PewDiePie, became famous playing video games on YouTube.
Typical Nazi.
Okay. 53 million subscribers.
Yeah, he's got 55 now.
Jesus. The biggest star on the site by far.
Let's go inside the stories. The scoop. Oh no, that's better. Scoop is better. Let's get into the latest scoops.
So it's him.
I think this is the one.
Recently, some of his videos have briefly included Nazi messages, images of Adolf Hitler, and explicit anti-Semitic commentary. So this is the Washington Post version? The Wall Street Journal, rather. Sorry. Following a request for comment from the Wall Street Journal, Disney said the videos are inappropriate and cut ties to PewDiePie, who ran his business.
They cost him millions of dollars over
Disney subsidiary Maker Studios. Cost PewDiePie millions. In a January 11th video, Mr. Blah 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 featured two men holding a sign reading "Death to all Jews" after hiring them from a freelance website.
I like the editing.
See, the joke is his reaction to it. And the fact that you go subscribe to Keemstar, who's like another big YouTuber, he's mocking it.
They would actually do it. I feel partly responsible, but just I didn't think they would. It might just be my crude sense of humor, but I think there's something funny about that. And I don't think
fired
there's
back at the media for mischaracterizing him.
Thing about it. Again, I think there's a difference between a joke and actual, like, fuck death to all Jews. If I made a video saying, hey guys, PewDiePie here, death to all Jews, I want you to say after me, death to all Jews. And, you know, Hitler was right. I really opened my eyes to white power, and I think it's time that we did something about it. That's essentially how they're reporting this, as if that's what I was saying or some shit like that.
It's amazing how popular he is with such a shitty grasp of English.
He's Swedish.
Apologies can camouflage messages that may still be received and celebrated by hate groups, the Southern Poverty Law Center says.
Yeah. So if the Southern Poverty Law Center condemns you, it's becoming a bit of a badge of honor these days.
In the video since removed, he posted a video of a man dressed as Jesus Christ. I love how they have, like, since removed is bold, and then Jesus Christ is bold.
Really nice guy.
The Jesus guy?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
On God's will.
Enemy uplink connected.
Stands beside God.
Wait.
That's all, folks. Peace out.
And I wasn't the one who made him say it. Or was it?
No, it wasn't.
I don't think so. He set up a GoFundMe page and his own website so he could order himself. And also, can I just point out that it's a
hold
little
on,
bit
stop.
ironic?
This is not what I'm looking for. Where are the actual videos of him doing the Nazi shit?
You
That's
just saw
it?
That was it.
That's 100% it.
That's it.
This is their article that led to all of this.
Yeah.
Right, but what we're looking at here, this is the Wall Street Journal's version of it.
Yeah.
So these are
the clips they're saying.
This is the actual clips that they're saying are the thing that shows him to be anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
Holy shit!
But
I thought it was way better
than that. The main
than
part
that.
I thought was just the video he got made off Fiverr.
Yeah, it's just him prattling around on the internet. It's just silly, childish jokes, and it's obviously. I mean, how many Nazis do you think this made?
3.
Really?
Yeah,
I go 2. I think 3's too high.
Nazis are so stupid. It's like
Yeah,
it doesn't take a lot to like turn them.
There was the really bad thing about this though is the fact that they didn't put this article out until they had like taken these clips and dobbed him into Disney. And Disney obviously knew there was going to be a shitstorm about this.
Why
and so
would
they
someone
dropped him.
do this?
It
Why
was an
would
attack.
someone? But
it was
why?
a political attack.
But why? What is
because
his? What
he's
is his
making money and they're
politics?
losing money. His politics are not their politics as well. Yeah, he mocks like he mocks feminism. He mocks social justice. He's a liberal. He's not a progressive. That's the difference.
Why would they think that they could just do that, though?
Because they've got the power to do that. No one can stop them. You couldn't stop
them. But
them.
they did.
They cost him millions of dollars.
I'm sure they did, but it's now costing them their reputation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, you can't just do that. Like the Wall Street Journals, they took a big hit from this, I'm sure.
They're unbelievably arrogant. Well, actually, do you know what's really interesting, right? There was, after all of this shit show blew over, there was a bunch of polls done of like 13 to 18-year-olds. And it was really, really fascinating how you had like favorability and how well known things were, and like YouTube was really well known, really favorable with kids, and then you had the Wall Street Journal, which was really well known but really unfavorable with kids. How do kids know what the Wall Street Journal is? Because of PewDiePie.
So now they think of the Wall Street Journal in this way. The millions of people that are his fans.
Exactly.
Well, that's a big mistake to a guy with a platform like that.
In 10 years' time, when they're voters and they're reading and consuming news, the Wall Street Journal will continue to go down. PewDiePie will still be doing that.
But what's crazy is I never thought of the Wall Street Journal as that. What I thought of the Wall Street Journal as being like informative, objective information about business. If you asked me, like, what is the Wall Street Journal? That's how I've always thought of them. So to see this video,
pretty shocking, isn't it?
Well, it is disturbing because there's nothing there. Like the death to all Jews thing, the fact that did he pay those guys to hold up that sign?
Yeah, like $5 to write on the sign so he could go, because it's taboo.
Right.
He's just breaking a taboo.
Exactly.
That's all it is.
Exactly.
If nobody had said anything, nothing would come
It's in poor taste, and if you're representing Disney, you can't fuck with that stuff. That's all that is.
Well, they know
but
what
that's
he's like.
I understand, but it's not. My point is, I'm defending him. It's not evidence of anti-Semitism.
Oh, no.
He's just saying something fucked up because he's trying to be shocking.
He's
but
just
the Hitler stuff, like, holy shit, there was nothing there.
No, it's so stupid. It's just the stupidest thing in the world. And this is the thing, right? Like, the Kekistani flag, what I love about this is it's a parody of the Nazi flag.
Right, of a swastika. What is it in there? What's in there?
Kek. It's silly internet stuff. But
is it a K in there?
Yeah. But it's okay.
Can't see.
When you have to explain any of this to someone, it sounds like the most stupid thing in the world because it's internet humor.
I love how they're planting the Iwo Jima flag.
I know, isn't that great? It's so stupid.
But that's what it's supposed to be.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Because that's how they come across to everyone else. It's like, guys, this is how stupid you look to us. Yeah.
Did you see that thing that somebody put up about it's you and Milo and a bunch of other people, and you've got a red pill.
Yeah.
And it says, "Get in the car, normies. We're gonna save civilization."
Someone's got to do it.
Like what? First of all, who the fuck thinks that that's like?
If anyone takes that seriously, they're a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
That's basic. But that's the point, isn't it? It's about people who can't laugh at themselves. If you can't laugh at yourself, then what's the point?
Well, there's also so many layers to this thing. Yeah. You have to be paying attention to it all the time, like you, to be able to keep up. Like, even I have to ask you questions like, wait, what's that? What's going on here? Like, because I'm not paying attention.
It's a complex subject. But the thing is, the idea of it, this is the thing, like the Southern Poverty Law Center, of course, came out and condemned Kekistan.
Why?
Like, because they're fucking idiots.
But it's not real.
Exactly.
What is Kekistan supposed to, is that supposed to be alt-right, though, isn't it?
No, of course not. It's actually, it's an identity for people who don't want an identity. Because I'm not an identitarian. I don't
sounds very non-binary. It sounds like Latinx.
Kind of, yeah. Well, that's the thing. No, that's exactly what it's supposed to sound like, right? When they say, I'm a Latinx, let me talk to you about my woke blackness and stuff like this.
I want to be a woke black person.
Well, you can be a Kekistani, because that's what it is.
Let me tell you about my woke blackness. It's one of the coolest things you could ever say.
But that's what it is, though. Because when someone comes to you about their identity, it's like, okay, but this isn't a conversation I want to have with you. It's not politics. It's you talking about yourself. And it's like, well, I don't have an ethnicity, like an identity. I don't play identity politics. They play identity politics. Kekistan is a parody of identity politics, and every identity politician hates it. Everyone who gets into bed with identity politics say, yeah, what about my blackness or Latina or my whiteness or my Jewishness, whatever it is. Okay, what about my Kekistanishness? And they're just like, well, shut up, that's not real. Well done. You finally got it.
Right.
I don't give a shit about your fucking identity. You don't give a shit about mine. So let's talk about the issues.
The issues.
Dun, dun, dun.
Like PewDiePie. So, where's it? How does he stand now? Like, so he lost this Disney deal.
Oh yeah,
because of this Wall Street Journal
article. He'll be
article.
fine, obviously.
But how many people were actually aware of the real content, like what he actually did? But what I'm saying is, how many people are aware versus the magazine article?
Oh, it's about the type of people who are aware.
Because I wasn't aware.
Of course you
So I knew who he was. I had heard his name. And when I heard the story, I had heard a bunch of different accounts. I tried to sift between the two. And the middle seemed to be that he was doing like typical internet stuff, being silly, but none of it was really anti-Semitic.
No, of course not.
But that's even milder than what I thought it was.
It's
That's
pathetic,
insanely
isn't it?
milder,
This
especially
whole thing.
when you're using the clips of him saying, if I was taken out of context.
Yeah, it's absolutely pathetic. But it's obviously the audience of the Wall Street Journal is the elites, the intelligentsia, the smart, rich people,
Old people that don't have a good internet connection at home.
Yeah, exactly. Well, no, they've undoubtedly got the best internet connections, but they're not going to live very long because they're old. PewDiePie's audience is coming up. They're going to be the ones who are essentially taking over the world, and PewDiePie is the one who's showing them that look at the things these people are saying, they're bad, and you know because they're attacking me, and you know me, I'm not doing anything wrong. So you know you can't trust these people. They are going to come after you. If they can go after PewDiePie, the biggest YouTuber in the world, then they can go after anyone.
Yeah, but it's really dangerous to frame things that way because it's dishonest.
Right.
And as soon as you do something like that and you make a dishonest representation of this guy, of PewDiePie, immediately every other thing that you print, I'm going to go, well,
Suspect.
you guys already made that thing about PewDiePie, and that was bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, you had to do a lot of work to make that. Yeah. Like, to cherry pick that hard.
Oh, they went through 6 months of video and got like 2 minutes of footage. And it's just
hilarious.
And he does a video every day. So it's just like, because, I mean, you saw the quality of the video. It's just, yeah.
Who
Exactly.
funded that? The Wall Street Journal funded that? Yeah. Like, that had to cost a lot of money, right?
Well,
think about you paying these guys by the hour. They're working all day.
So what? Watch a bunch of YouTube videos. Millions of people have already watched, and then go, "Look at the scoop we've got,"
and try to find one or two Jew jokes. Wow.
Dun dun dun.
See, if he was Jewish, he could have Mel Brooks his way right through that motherfucker and been fine.
But unfortunately for PewDiePie, he's got white male privilege, so he can't do a thing.
Well, you have to recognize your privilege. Super important. Check your privilege at the door. It's a wonderful way for people to control you.
It's original sin.
To tell you, yes, it is original sin.
It
really is.
These people are creating a new priesthood. If you look at the diversity officers, I mean, like in Britain, the BBC is the prime example. They've started, they actually have job positions where they hire on the basis of race and against people on the basis of race. For example, and not even for like, if it was for like in front of the camera, I could understand, you know, I don't like the we need more black people, we need more brown people, whatever. But I mean, I could at least go, well, I mean, like you were saying, you know, it's good to have examples. I can accept that I don't like it, but not because I don't want to see brown people, but because it's discriminatory on the basis of race. But I could at least accept it for a good conclusion. But for this, it's just a research position behind the scenes, 18 grand a year, you know, making nothing. And all you're doing is typing into Google and finding things, and they're like, white people can't apply. And I have to fund that with my TV license.
It's crazy that white people can't apply.
I know, no whites allowed.
So racist.
And they're wondering why the alt-right are doing so well. Why so many people are just like, you know what, get fucked.
But the idea that you could say that, like your melanin content is going to prohibit you from getting this job. I'm sure you paid attention to the Evergreen State College fiasco, Brett Weinstein. Did you listen to Brett when he was on this podcast?
I haven't had time. I've been busy doing all this.
He's a very shockingly progressive man.
He is.
He's a super liberal, essentially. And a really, please, all you, man. He's a really nice guy.
And yeah, he seemed it.
And the poor guy's in hiding. Yeah, he's in hiding. He like literally had to remove his family from there and kind of put them in hiding. The school's essentially almost shut down.
Yeah, they took over.
I mean, the thing is chaos, and now they're voting to remove funding and turn it into a private school.
Yeah.
Because
Let
people,
it fail.
they're like, you guys are out of your mind. We can't give you tax dollars. But they told him that he should stay home because they wanted a day of absence where white people were not allowed to go to work. And he was like, what the fuck are you doing?
I'm Jewish.
Yeah, not only that, he's like, that's racist. And they're like, no, you're racist.
That's the important point.
Well, one of the women who was responsible for it called his wife a racist and was saying that she called for, on a Facebook post, she called for white women to take this racist white ass out or something like that.
The thing about this, all of this
call her
well,
out, maybe call her out.
The thing about all of this is really dangerous because at some point white people go, yeah, okay.
But she's calling her white. She's calling her racist white.
Yeah.
God damn it. Just because someone doesn't agree with you on something that's really racist doesn't mean they're a racist.
No, of course not. But it's dangerous to do this because, I mean, if you're going to use this as a weapon against the thing, and that's what this is. This is an attack.
Yeah.
He's refusing to cooperate, so they're attacking him.
Well, it's a control. It's without a doubt, it's about control.
Exactly.
This is 100% about people trying to control other people.
It's political, entirely political. I mean, this is a political attack. And if you're going, right, you don't want to be a racist, do you? At some point, the white people are just going to go, I guess I'm racist.
Did you see where they had the president and they were talking to him? And the president was addressing these students. They were being fucking completely ridiculous.
Yep.
And they told him to put his hands down because his hands were a microaggression. And then a kid stood up next to him in like a threatening manner and told him to put his hands down. And he put his hands down. They started laughing. It's clearly a game. They're playing ping pong. They're playing
bullying.
checkers.
They're just bullying.
They're bullying them. But it's not just that. It's not just bullying.
Oh, no, of course
It's like them grouping up
It's
to
horrific.
support each other.
Can you imagine how he feels?
Well, he was saying that he believes it's like a mass psychosis. That literally it's like a mass hysteria. It's like people losing their minds in this large
They're not losing
group.
their minds at all. They're just being given undue power that they don't deserve. They haven't earned all of this power.
But they're doing something with that power. If they gave you
Absolutely.
that power, you wouldn't. So
No,
it
I
is
wouldn't.
some sort of a psychosis.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. These people are they've never been they're not being held to an account.
Right.
They're not being told. Look, when you earn power, you generally have. I mean, that's a Karate Kid, isn't it? You earn power, you have to be responsible with that power.
Right.
And that's what a good leader is. These people are just being given power. They haven't earned it. They're being given it, and they are being told they can't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
And so they think, well, fuck, I'll do whatever the fuck I like then.
They're also told that like you can always step up and talk about your blackness or whatever, and everyone has to kind of shut the fuck up. Like you have like there's these
I'll talk
carte
about my
blanche.
greenness.
Yes. There's these subjects that you can sort of like intersect or inject your race into, or your gender, or the fact that you're trans, or the fact that you're
Any
marginalized,
identity. Any identity.
in any way, Latino, and you can kind of shut down discussion. And it's one of the things that you see when this president is addressing the students, and the students step up and they're asking questions. This is a long. It looks like a hostage negotiation.
It is. That's what
it's
it-
very
that's why it
strange.
looks like it. It is.
They get